May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm sorry. It's still Adelson, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Adelson, I'm going to approach and show you what's been marked just for identification purposes as defense 49J, and ask you to look at that and tell me if you've ever seen that before.
I have seen this before.
Okay, and that's an email that your father sent to you regarding the appointment that he had made for the TV to be repaired, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And on the front page, you can see where he's forwarding it to you, and it says, "Love, Dad," right?
Yes.
And then he tells you when the appointment's going to be, Friday the 18th between 8 and 12, right?
Yes.
And then when you flip, well, now stay on the first page. Do you see down almost 2/3 of the way down where it has the order information and the order creation date?
Yes.
And that date was what?
The order creation date is July 11th, 2014.
Okay. And on the next page, where the problem description is, it says that Harvey called in, stated that the 55-inch TV screen had some problems, right?
Yes.
Go to the next page. It repeats about the complaint that your father had about what was wrong with the TV, right?
Yes.
If you scroll down, there are some questions under date submitted, right?
Yes.
Whether the TV is wall mounted,
Yes.
what the size of the TV is,
Yes.
if it's mounted over 6 feet high,
Yes.
if the height of the ceiling,
Yes.
is it eligible for a loaner?
Yes.
Was it installed by the Geek Squad?
Yes.
Is the product that we're going to service in a place of business?
So I'm saying yes that I see these questions, but the answer to that question is no.
Right.
Okay.
Correct. That's what I was going to point out. So your
Okay.
dad said no to that one, correct?
Right.
Is the product that we are going to service in a place of business, and your dad answered no, correct?
He answered no.
And the next one says what?
Would you be willing to accept a sooner appointment if one became available? And the answer to that one is yes.
Thank you. May I approach?
You may.
Ms. Adelson, you testified on direct when asked some questions about the name change of your children. You recall those questions?
Yes.
Okay, and I think your testimony was that you officially changed your children's last names a year and a half? What did you say?
I legally changed them a year after Danny's death.
Okay. But after he passed away and you went to Miami, it was time for your oldest child to be enrolled in kindergarten, right?
Yes.
And so what were the ages of the children when Danny was murdered?
They were almost 5 and 3.5.
Okay. And so the 5-year-old was going into kindergarten.
Yes.
And where was the other child going to be? Was he being put in a preschool program?
It was a preschool program.
Okay. And so you went and registered them at the school, correct?
Yes.
And the official registration said Markel for the children's last names, correct?
I believe so.
But because you were going to socially refer to them as Adelson, that's what you asked the school to do as well, right?
Yes.
And so when you went into orientation for the oldest child, I'm trying not to say the name, when you went into orientation for the oldest child for kindergarten, and they had his little nameplate there where he was going to sit at his desk, it said last name Adelson, right?
I honestly don't remember him having a last name on. I remember his first name being there, but I don't remember. I thought they put the first names for the kindergartners.
But you asked the school to refer to him by the last name Adelson.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
And so there was an exhibit that was shown to you where your mother had registered him for an after-school flag football, right?
Right.
And so because the school's knowing his name, that he's being referred to as Adlesen, that's why she did that, correct?
Correct.
And the youngest one, where was he going to go? Or where did he go?
He was at a preschool, a private preschool, because he was too young to go to the preschool at the public elementary school.
Okay. And whether it was your mother or your father who wrote the email about signing up and grandpa's coming with him to, I'm sorry, I'm not Jewish. I didn't understand what that was.
It's okay. Tot Shabbat would have been, like a Sabbath activity where the grandparents would come and sing songs and
Okay.
something like that.
And so the younger one's also being known as last name Adelson.
Yes.
Okay. Because socially, that's what you wanted them to go forward with.
I thought it would make them safer.
Okay. There was some questions of you on direct about potentially purchasing a home after the divorce was final in 2013. You recall those questions?
I do.
And it was suggested that Charlie convinced you not to do that, right?
That was what was suggested.
But in fact, the reason I think you stated was because you hadn't gotten your settlement yet from Mr. Markel.
Right. I didn't have the money to purchase a home.
And so even though you had been interested in it, you had to notify your realtor that
It wasn't possible at that time.
okay. And in the emails that the state introduced and discussed with you, where your mother is making lots of suggestions, mostly after relocation was denied, of things that you could do, like tell Danny you're going to raise them as Catholics, you're going to have them baptized as Catholics, all of those suggestions she was making, correct?
Yes.
She wasn't actually suggesting you do it. She was wanting you to use that as a means of negotiating with Danny, right?
That's my understanding.
That if he thought maybe you were going to do these things, he would reconsider the issue of relocation, correct?
Correct.
Testified that your mother hated Danny at the time that he was killed. Do you remember saying that?
I believe I said that.
But the week before he died, your mother was babysitting for Danny, wasn't she?
Yes.
And nothing but pleasantries between the two of them.
That's right.
And in fact, she actually made him banana bread specifically the way he liked it, right?
It was his favorite.
Without nuts, but with chocolate chips.
That's right.
But you think she hated him?
I think she was mad at him.
Mad at him. There's a difference between being mad at someone and hating them, isn't there?
There is.
I think you testified that, and there may have been an email that suggested it, that you would have never left Danny if not for your mom and maybe brother's suggestions. Did you say that?
I don't think that was exactly right. I think it was, I probably wouldn't have left, kind of suggesting that maybe I would have wanted to, but wouldn't have had the strength or wherewithal to leave on my own.
Okay, isn't it true that each year, maybe not every year, but many years, yourself and Danny would, when you finished the school session here at FSU College of Law, you would go down to Coral Springs or Miami, whichever they were at, and you would spend almost 2 weeks with your parents, right?
Yes.
And that would be yourself and Danny when it was just you, right?
Yes.
And then after you had the children, all of you went down there, correct?
Yes.
Well, in fact, what really happened was in the summer of 2012, when you decided that you were going to leave Danny, Danny was down there with you, correct?
Yes.
And the children were there too?
Yes.
And they were young. How old were they?
In 2012, they would have been 2 and 3.
Okay. And Danny was there, and you actually asked your mom if she'd go out to coffee with you. You remember that?
I don't remember that.
And you told her then that you were going to leave Danny and get a divorce, didn't you?
That sounds right, but I don't remember that.
Okay. And in fact, she suggested counseling to you, and you told her you guys had already been in counseling and it didn't work. Isn't that right?
We had been in counseling and it hadn't worked, but again, this sounds like something that could have happened, but I just don't remember the coffee.
Okay. There was also questions of you, several questions about your interview with law enforcement the day that Danny was shot? You recall those questions from the state?
I do recall the questions.
And they were pointing out things that you had said about your family, your parents, Charlie. You remember those questions?
I do.
Isn't it true that when you were interviewed by law enforcement, what you said initially was that Danny's parents were going to think that you're the one who did it, right?
I did say that.
I wanted to talk about the relocation a little bit. So you have a relocation hearing on June the 18th. Does that sound right?
2013?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. And leading up to that hearing, you notified your mother by email that because she was going to be testifying in court, she would need to wait outside that hearing, correct?
I don't remember that, but that if she was supposed to be a witness, then she couldn't be present for the hearing.
May I approach, Your Honor? I'm going to show you, oh my goodness, I can't read that. I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification purposes, Defense Exhibit 49B. If you could just read that for me, please, to yourself.
Do you want me to read to the end?
No, ma'am, I'm just looking for where you told your mother, get you to agree that you said to her, because you are testifying in court, Mom, you won't be able to sit in on the hearing with me. Is that what
Yes.
you said?
Yes,
Okay.
but I can have Dad there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come and get it from you.
Okay.
Thanks for coming here. Obviously, we have a new YouTube link. We seem to have lost about 800 of you in the process. Michael Bryant's going to have to get a tech course pretty soon after that little mishap took us off the air, took all of you off the air. I hope not, if you're still waiting in the other StreamYard, people can post this link to come right back over here and chat. I was just about to answer some of your questions as we sit and wait as Wendi ponders reading a document with regard to this cross-examination. And she said what I said, that you can register the kids in the same name, not change their name in school. And she did that for the first year. If you were scared, because she said that's why she did, she was scared. But then when you go for the formal name change, you're not scared anymore. As a matter of fact, you wonder what the kids wondering, well, my name was Markel yesterday, and my name is, but they were, I guess they were young enough that it really didn't, it doesn't sink in, because the kids were way too young. Okay. Yeah, and I love the banana bread. Entered the chat.
Sometime in April of 2013. So that would be not long before your divorce was final. You took a trip. I don't know if you were speaking there or someone else was, but you took a trip out of town with a gentleman named Miguel. Do you recall that?
I don't recall the trip, but I was seeing Miguel at the time.
You do recall the trip?
Well, I was seeing Miguel at the time, but I don't know what the trip was in April of 2013. I don't remember that. Can you tell me where we went?
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to get that.
Okay.
Puerto Rico. Does that sound familiar?
It was a clinical law professor conference. There's one every year, and that year it was in Puerto Rico.
Okay. And did you speak at that, or you were there to get credit hours or something of that
No,
nature?
I spoke.
Now Miguel has entered the chat. Boy, there's a lot of dead space in this cross here.
May I approach, Your Honor? I'm going to now show you what's been marked for identification purposes as Defendant's Exhibit 1E. And it's dated April the 28th of 2013 and addressed Dear Renee. You don't need to read it all, but would you familiarize yourself with your communication there, please?
Okay, so now we have another defendant's exhibit she needs to familiarize herself with. Usually you try to ask what a question and then see if she doesn't remember, she can look at it, but I guess it's another way to do it. Kimberlana, I know you've been in our chat a lot. It says she lied about when they told her Dan was shot. She said she was in the back of a cop car. She was in the room with detectives and they told her. Yeah, she was in the room with detectives. You know, that's what I thought too, that she was in the room. But you know, she says that is not the case. So I'm sure we're going to hear. But remember, my view is that he was being kept on life support until his parents and all could get there, that he really essentially was brain dead at the time that he got to the hospital. Yeah, that's my view of it from dealing with cases like this, but that he was, you know, he was as good as gone.
Okay, I've read a little bit. Do you want me to?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I'll point out any sections that.
All right, here we go again.
Would you agree that you wrote this on April the 28th of 2013?
Yes, it looks like I dated it.
Okay, and that's to Renee.
Yes.
And you're coming back from your trip to Puerto Rico.
Yes.
And while you were on this trip, your parents were taking care of the boys, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And on the first page, down towards the bottom, you have some bullet points about what you would like to do to resolve your divorce, correct?
Well, I think it was not just about my divorce. It was kind of about how I wanted to be living my life overall.
Yeah, I was trying not to get into the personal information, but that's right. This entire email is really about changes you want to make in your life, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the last bullet point down at the bottom, it says, I've been coming to a place in the last few months where I have realized that I want to keep my job. It allows me the maximum amount of flexibility to spend with my kids while allowing the freedom for intellectual exploration, one-on-one mentoring with students, and meaningful work in the community. I don't care that Jibbers told my colleagues that I stole from him and that I am mentally ill. Nasty things are said in divorce, and people know that, right?
Yes.
Tallahassee isn't ever where I wanted to live, but it's where the job is. And it's where my boy's father is, which means they don't have to constantly be flying on planes or driving in cars to accomplish our custody situation, right?
Yes.
So you have the pending petition and motion for relocation, but as of April the 28th, you're starting to think maybe staying in Tallahassee is the right thing to do, correct?
Yes.
And then this goes on. Third page is now you're writing on May the 2nd of 2013, correct?
Yes.
Little different subject, but if you go to the next to the last page of that exhibit, see where it starts, wait, it's me again?
Yes.
Okay. The paragraph after that, I wanted to ask you about this. It says, on Sunday morning, we're supposed to sit on the same stage. You're referring to Mr. Markel, correct?
Yes.
In full regalia and clap for the graduating law students. I love graduation, and the Jibbs has never attended because it's normally on a Saturday morning and he is at synagogue. Correct?
Yes.
And then you say it's on Sunday this year and I have the boys and the dean wants all faculty to attend. So I need to. It's only 2 hours and my mom can watch the boys during that time. Correct?
Yes.
So it was fairly routine then for you to get your mother or both parents' assistance when you had somewhere that you needed to be and someone needed to take care of the children, correct?
Yes.
Sorry, Judge, I have so many papers up here. I'm confused.
Take time, it's your opportunity to take a witness.
May I approach? I'm gonna exchange with you, Ms. Adelson. I'll take that one back and then show you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 1G for identification purposes. Could you review that to yourself, please?
All right, I mean, this cross-examination may be doing something. I see a lot of you like it, but I'm feeling that, it may be making points, but right now to me, it's kind of meandering around by the time limits of letting her testify and look at documents and all. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, though, she can meander because poor Michael Bryant, who of course for a few minutes we all bonded to, and this is not in reality, wring his neck for taking us off the air and losing 600. We couldn't even give you the link to the new StreamYard, to the new YouTube chat, because I was on a new StreamYard chat. But I'm telling you, this is kind of meandering. Charlie was transported from his prison to the jail, suggesting he wants to testify for his mom. I don't think it's for the prosecution. I think it may be for his mother, or because I don't think the prosecution is going to call him, right? I mean, I think his mother's attorneys may call him. But the question is this providing any further, is this actually helping Donna or Madonna Adelson on the charges?
I'm not sure if this was to Renee or not. Yeah, you mentioned Renee. So this is on June the 4th of 2013, correct?
Yes.
And we're approaching the hearing date on the relocation motion, which is set for June the 18th, right?
Yes.
And in here, you're expressing some concerns over what you've been through in the divorce. But you said, and I think the state referred to this, that Mr. Markel had sent you a long message about how you could be doing all of the divorce stuff so differently in the spirit of love and joy, where we get together and talk about our vision for the boys and for our future. And I won't say what you said after that, but at this point, you're kind of agreeing with him. You want to do it peacefully, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you talk about the one alternative is you could call Gary. Now, Gary is the gentleman who was kind of offering you a position in Miami, right?
Gary was a partner at the law firm where a position was offered to me.
Okay. And your plan was to have him come and testify at the relocation hearing about the job that he would be giving you if you relocated there, correct?
Yes.
And you had other people who were going to testify there as well on your behalf, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so you say one alternative is you call Gary and say, I've changed my mind. I don't think it's best for my kids to move them to South Florida. I appreciate you saving the job for me, but I'm not going to come to South Florida, correct?
Yes.
And then you call your brother and say, I love you, Charlie, but I'm going to stay in Tallahassee. I know you don't agree with my decision, but that's what's best for me and the kids right now. I hope one day you'll understand. That was something else you were considering, correct?
Right.
And then call your parents and say basically the same thing. And if they wanted to come up anytime and visit you and the boys in Tallahassee, they were free to do so, right?
Yes.
But that's like they've always been doing, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you think if you take relocation off the table, that it will give you an opportunity to discuss things with Mr. Markel and hopefully work them out, right?
Yes.
On the next page, you talk about what the alternative vision is, and that's what you currently have planned, which is to have Gary fly up to testify at the hearing, right?
Yes.
Your mom would testify, right?
Yes.
They would fly up and spend days with you, correct?
Yes.
You expected at that time the hearing would last 1 to 2 days, right?
Yes.
And you were concerned that you would go through all of that, spending more money, being more stressed. And then you say, for the chance to save face with my family and to be given an opportunity I don't actually want, to live with them in South Florida. That's what you said, right?
Well, I say an opportunity I don't actually want with all of my heart, but maybe part of it,
Okay.
to live with them in South Florida.
All right. And then you say, so I am willing to put myself through all of this just to keep up appearances with my parents and brother that I want to be living down in South Florida or down south with them, even though I don't want to. That's what you said, right?
I say, even though I don't want to give up my current flexible job where I get to spend maximum time with my kids so I can be with them.
Okay. And that was June the 4th of 2013, right?
Yes.
Actually, that's pretty good testimony.
And what
but
you
she
end
was
up
just
choosing was the second
didn't wanna do
alternative,
the
correct?
move.
I went through with the hearing.
Okay. And I think, let me find it. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's already been introduced into evidence as State's Exhibit 60. Let's see if I can figure out their lettering system. That would be Y. I'll take this and let you take this book.
Okay.
And if you would review that pleading, or this order that the court entered, please.
This would be a lot more effective if there was a PowerPoint it could put on screen like
Okay.
everyone see it.
Have you
But
had
she
an
didn't really
opportunity
want
to
to
review
move to
that?
South Florida,
Yes.
but she was trying to.
So you went into this
Placate it
hearing
down.
and Gary ended up coming, correct?
He did.
And he testified, right?
Yes.
And you gave some testimony, correct?
Yes.
And what happened was the judge kind of called a timeout, right?
I don't remember a timeout.
At some point, she wanted to speak to counsel. Is that right?
I'm sorry. I don't remember that part of her speaking to counsel. And
Do you remember the judge making some comments about the children hadn't been harmed and since he hadn't pulled out their toenails?
I do remember the toenail comment. Yes.
So she wasn't leaning towards relocation, correct?
No.
Okay. So even though you had other witnesses, you didn't proceed with the hearing, right?
Well, I think we had the hearing and the judge decided.
You didn't call all your witnesses, did you?
I don't remember.
If you look at the order, it says order on wife's petition to relocate with the minor children. And then it says what the court orders and adjudges. The court does not find that the wife has met her burden of proof that a relocation is in the best interest of the minor children. You see that?
Yes, number one.
Yes. And your mother actually stayed outside for the testimony of that hearing with your dad, correct?
I don't remember, but I remember asking her to stay outside if she was going to testify.
Okay. And you came outside at some point and told your parents that relocation was denied, correct?
Correct.
And it's after this hearing, when relocation is denied, that those truly ugly emails that your mother wrote were written by her, correct?
Yes.
May I approach?
You may.
Actually, if you'd keep that for a second.
Okay.
Once the final judgment was entered, the issue of relocation was over, right?
Yes.
Relocation from July 31st of 2013 until the time that Mr. Markel was murdered was never an issue again, was it?
It was never an issue from the day it was decided on July 31st, 2013. That's when it ended.
Certainly after the final judgment, correct?
Yes.
And that's the end of the discussion about relocation, right?
Yes.
No more plans about how to get relocation, that the issue's decided, correct?
It was decided.
Ms. Adelson, if you look at that order that's entered by the court, besides saying it's denied, it says something pretty important, and I think the state pointed this out in its opening. It says that this denial is with prejudice
Yes, ma'am.
of the wife's petition for request to relocate with the minor children.
We pointed that out.
And you're a lawyer, so you know that with prejudice means this is done. This topic in this divorce is over.
Yes, with prejudice means it's a final decision of the court.
But what it says right before that is, as such, the parties stipulate to the denial with prejudice of the wife's petition. You see that?
Yes, I do.
So what happened is as after the judge says, if their toenails haven't been pulled out, I'm not thinking relocation, you actually stipulated to denial with prejudice, right?
Yes.
You did not tell your parents that you stipulated to denial with prejudice, did you?
I don't remember any conversation there, really.
So not knowing that it was denied with prejudice, your mother thought you still had an opportunity to get it up through your final hearing, right?
I believe so.
And so she kept writing these ugly things and giving you all of these ugly suggestions, right?
She did write those emails.
If you had told her you stipulated with prejudice, that's probably not what you wanted, Mom, but that would have been the end of it, right?
I don't know. I would just be guessing.
May I approach?
All right, now the defense is kind of screaming at her that this is a fact that there was a stipulation that this be done.
Well,
with
if you just be
prejudice,
guessing,
which is kind of
after
new
she thought it
information.
was finally over on July the 31st, there were no more emails suggesting you do things like she suggested between the hearing date on June the 20th and the final hearing on July the 31st, did she?
Can you help me? What is the question?
So sure. So your mother doesn't know when you get out of the hearing on June the 20th that you stipulated that this is a forever decision. So she writes these ugly emails, right?
She may not have understood that it was a final decision of the court.
It was a decision of the court because you stipulated to it, Ms. Adelson, didn't you?
I did stipulate to
And
it.
she didn't know it. She thought you had up until the final hearing. So she's marching along, trying to come up with more suggestions of how you can pressure Danny and get him to agree for you to relocate, even though you know it's dead, right?
I knew that it was a final decision.
And after July the 31st, when she thought it was a final decision, she wrote no more emails suggesting you do these crazy things to still try and get relocation, did she?
I don't remember the dates of the email, but
And you testified when you got up, when the state was asking you questions, after you said your mother hated Danny at the time that he was killed, which you've clarified now that she was mad at him, not that she hated him. You testified you hated him at the time he was killed, right?
I don't remember testifying to that.
Well, then we'll need to take a break, Judge. May
You have
we
any
approach?
questions for the witness?
I do. May we approach?
Please approach.
Okay. It got a little convoluted here, but apparently there was some testimony that is helpful to Donna, that Donna never brought up the fact that the relocation should occur after she learned that this order had been entered. And the question is, what did you tell the jurors in the past? And now she can't remember. It's a little convoluted and all. And the reason why it's convoluted, and actually this is information across that could be helpful to Donna Adelson, very helpful to her, is because it's rapid fire, it's loud, it's not organized in a way a jury can follow it. It's not up on the screen and say, okay, so if you did this, so your mother after this for the next year never ever said that there would be anything with regard to relocation. Never did anything with regard to this.
Tails will take you to the jury room.
So now it sounds like jurors are going into the jury room, and we may get a little clarity from the defense as to what's happening, or we may not. Let's see. We got a little bit of a huddle going on to the right. You see Donna Adelson all the way to the right in the grandma sweater, I will call it.
Everyone can be seated.
So let's see what the hearing is that we're going to have here right now. Or when the hearing is not, we're not going to have a hearing.
Joey, are we in recess, Judge?
I'm
I
hearing.
believe the defense is talking to their client, but then we'll go into recess in just a moment.
Okay, so they're not in recess. The defense is talking to the client, and the question is, are they going to go in recess? I'm not sure I understood everything that was happening there, except it should have been good for Donna, that Wendi had testified something in the past, and she couldn't remember now, and I think she was going to have to be refreshed and all. I guess the issue becomes whether if Wendi had told them, her mother, that this was a stipulated decision, that Wendi had agreed to it, and Wendi is sending all these other emails to people saying, look, she's going to keep in Tallahassee. She likes the fact that a job gives her flexibility, and she was just trying to appease her mother. Does that help the mother? Or does it make it appear like everyone tries to appease Donna and she's still Don Adelson? She's the Don Adelson.
In my notes,
You know.
some references
So-
too, but yeah.
Hold on a second. I think the judge is
Mr.
saying.
Sullivan, Ms. Fulford, as to this issue, are you seeking for the court reporter to review something, or do you wish for me to instruct the jurors to rely on their memories?
I think we have an alternative resolution. If we may just have 1 minute, please.
Go ahead.
Well, that was a mumbled response. Apparently, there's an alternative resolution that they may have as to what the prior testimony was of Wendi Adelson. So we'll have to see what's going on here. But whatever it is, it's disrupted the flow of the cross. What can I say? I mean, this is truly, the jury is going to go in there like we are, like, okay, so what just happened here? What's going on? What happened? And the judge is like, well, do I? So no, yeah, you're not confusing this needs some ZZZ. The question is the stipulation and who knew about the relocation. But quite frankly, I think that if Ma Donna felt that Wendi couldn't appeal this because she had stipulated it, maybe Madonna was really also mad at Wendi because Madonna had invested all of this in terms of making sure that Wendi was away from Dan Markel, and our boys, as she called them, were under their control. So, I mean, this kind of testimony can go both ways, but it's better to go for the defense if it looks like it's coherent in some sort. And that's the problem I'm understanding that right now, is that this is really, it's got some points for Donna Adelson. It's got more points for Wendi Adelson as to whether she would conspire with it or whether she went along with anything. It's more helpful to Wendi, but right now, it's the question, I just think that it's kind of rambling. I mean, I don't know how you all feel at all. But remember, back to Michael Bryant's point, before he so rudely took us all off the air and we lost a whole bunch of you, almost 600 of you chatters. That was just chatters, that's just not viewers, right? That he so rudely took us off the air accidentally and we had to go to the new stream. Is this disconnect, or does this even more disconnect Donna from the plot of the hit person? And the problem I have, yes, of course, the state must prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm a defense attorney. I'm never going to say that. But by the same token here, if Charlie Adelson hires a hit person, does he do that on his own? Or does he do that with at least the Don of the family giving the blessing, right? To do that. And that's the problem I have. I think somebody had to give the blessing. Now, whether or not the prosecution is connecting Donna Adelson to it, I mean, you certainly have the hate, in my view. And whether Wendi Adelson agreed to a stipulation or not with prejudice, so what? I mean, they may feel that she could agree to anything, because they're going to take the law into their own hands because the judges and the law haven't been good for them. So let's agree to it and let's move on. So again, all goes down to control and the burden of proof. But I tell you what, I just
We're going to take a 10-minute break.
Oh, now we're going to have a 10-minute break.
3:40. We will resume after the jurors have used the restroom and everyone is ready. Mrs. Adelson, if you need to use the restroom, this is your opportunity as well.
Okay, so I mean, I love Judge Everett in regard to this, right? If you need to use the restroom, Mrs. Adelson, you can. I mean, treating everybody in that courtroom, no matter who they are, is with some dignity, right? Especially right now, as I told you, because Donna Adelson is presumed innocent until the prosecution proves beyond a reasonable doubt that she is part of this conspiracy. Now, I said to you about the jurors, about the young kids and registered. You could register them under a pseudonym if you're really scared, and they still have their name. But the problem I have is that she still took them away from their parents' heritage afterwards. Now, maybe they were so young and she was going to be on her own, and then she wanted everything to be Adelson, but that wouldn't explain why she changed the name of the younger child's middle name that was an honor to a deceased relative of Dan Markel. Okay, that to me does not help her, right, at all. And that to me it shows that that Wendi was still part of this whole, hating Dan Markel despite of what she says. And then the question is Donna so controlling that she would have, even if her daughter wanted to stay in Tallahassee, that she wanted her daughter near her with the kids because for some reason she thought her daughter had to be in control, that she needed to be shielded in some way from Dan Markel. That was only going to get worse, right? So we'll see. So, we'll see whether or not the state succeeds. I mean, we still have a lot of things. We have now, remember, we still have the boyfriend who's going to come up and talk about Wendi confiding in him about the hit. And it looks like that Wendi was trying to set him up to take the fall. We'll have that. But again, then does that go to Donna? Okay. So the problem is if you pinpoint Wendi, do you pinpoint more proof against Donna? Or is Donna's proof there with regard to the bump or tickle the wire that she calls Charlie? But then when you do that, she calls Charlie, she doesn't call Wendi, right? Or is this the whole conspiracy? That's what they're charged with, the conspiracy, because some parts of the spoke of the bicycle wheel were doing some things, and some parts of the spoke of the bicycle wheel were doing others. But I have to be mindful of the fact that Michael Bryant thinks that the state has not yet established that nexus for beyond a reasonable doubt to Donna, because you may have some jurors thinking like that. But it's only, look, we're only in day 2? I mean, the prosecution has a full case to put on, and they're going to do it this week, right? Prosecution has a full case to put on, they're going to do it this week. So we're only in day 2 of the prosecution's case. I think, quite frankly, that the emails are just disastrous. And I don't care what you say. I don't believe that, because if Donna Adelson had been told that Wendi Adelson has stipulated to that the motion couldn't be brought anymore, to me, it doesn't really matter if she stipulated to it or not, because then it basically says, well, we don't care what the court says. We'll stipulate to this because, we're going to take things into our own hands. I mean, so, I'm not sure. That's the kind of evidence that can go both one way or another. What are your concerns with regard to? I think the jail phone calls are a problem for Donna Adelson. We haven't heard those yet. We haven't heard about the other stuff. But I think that this is more like again, as I keep saying, Don Gotti. John Gotti was the Don of the family, right? Nothing went beyond the family that he didn't authorize. All right, and if someone did go beyond what the family authorized, then he would put a hit on that person who went beyond, because he was the Don. All right, so you may have some good things going on in this cross-examination, but by the disorganization of how it's presented, okay? And the failure to modulate your voice when something is incredibly important. I'm telling you, this is incredibly important, okay? And the failure to, I found myself like, oh, can I go take a nap now? At all. So, that's where I found that's the case. That's what I found, like, okay. And so then all of a sudden something happened, like, oh, I think that was good. I think that was not good. That was a fruit fly. I think that was good for Donna Adelson, but I kind of missed it because I was kind of like ready to zone out here. So, this is really it's interesting. And so I don't know whether defense attorney Fulford goes back at the end and then starts making a chart that she gets, but the jury up, and you did this, and you didn't do this, and then your mother didn't do this, and you didn't do this, because if Wendi Adelson is innocent, that doesn't exonerate Donna. Wendi Adelson, by the way, is trying to exonerate herself and Donna, it seems to me, in one fell swoop by not going against her immunity grant, all right, because and all. So that's there's really the problem is nobody was going to get up there and say, I don't think Wendi was ever going to say that Donna was responsible. So now what is this? Okay, hold on a second. All right, so we have the animals over humans. Come on, Linda. Dan was ugly to Wendi and made that divorce so contentious and bragged about how he was going to file more motions to his friends. I can't see the rest of it. He was no saint. That doesn't get him killed, though, right? That doesn't, he shouldn't be killed because of that. So the question becomes, if he was doing that, was the hatred so bad by Wendi and her family that somebody in the family authorized the hit? And if somebody was going to authorize a hit and pay for the hit, would it be Charlie alone? He's already been convicted. And I don't see it being Charlie alone without the imprimatur of Donna. And maybe the passive imprimatur of Wendi, because it is her kid's father. But the state has to prove right now, we're not in the case against Wendi, we're in the case against Donna. The state must prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. I think the state's going to be able to do it with the bump and the jailhouse calls and everything else. I think the jury's going to believe that. Now, whether that's going to be enough and they can go after Donna, I don't know, right? I simply don't know, with regard to that final step. But we're not at that final step. We're not at that final step, right? But I really wish, as a defense attorney, because there are points being made, I'd kind of like to know what they are. My notebook is pretty blank when it comes to this cross-examination, and it shouldn't be, because things went past. Things were going past, and it shouldn't be. The things that may have been helpful were going to pass. But if someone makes a point about Charlie authorizing the parents help cover it up, that's a possibility, animals over humans. But we're here on the question of the cover-up could be part of the conspiracy, that afterwards. The cover-up could be part of the conspiracy afterwards, So, again, we're only on day 2, all right? I think that, and again, I'm going to be stuck on those emails, which when I heard them, listening to Wendi Wonder, didn't hear them as great force as we heard them the way the prosecution presented them today. I think those emails are really bad when it comes to motive. Somebody has to have a motive. And Wendi also, by the way, adopted the emails that her mother wrote to change all the pleadings and every single pleading to try to get what they wanted. All right. And remember the email from Donna that the Adelsons, Markel hasn't beaten the Adelsons yet, and he's not going to. All right. That's a pretty, I think that's a pretty threatening email in a way. All right. That's a pretty threatening email in a way. So that's to me, tells you, look, I don't really care what the courts are going to do. I don't care what everything's going to do. The Adelsons are going to come out on top no matter what it takes. That's what it says to me. All right. So, but yeah, that's the problem. JASRN, you're the same issue with Michael Bryant, that you're waiting for proof that she's part of the murder, not just being protective or controlling. But I think her being so protective and so controlling and so hateful, her emails are more hateful to me than Wendy's motions here. And, the family clearly loves each other. The mother clearly loves the kids. The kids clearly love Donna. But, this is somebody who had a hit put out on them in a matrimonial case. And we know that the hit was put on him. We know that it was a hit. And we know that Charlie's been convicted. Now, again, the defense had a good point that when they talked to Luis Rivera, the person he said put the hit out was Wendi Adelson, and she's not on trial, and she's exonerating herself. And this is the trial for Donna Adelson. So the connection has to be that Donna Adelson knew about, agreed with, helped with in some way, planned or whatever, conspired with, that this is how they were going to deal with Wendy's problems, would be the hit on Dan Markel. All right. And the question is, can the prosecution prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt? Have they proven it yet? No. Have the emails, in my opinion, gone a long way? Yes. Will the bump say that the bump kind of indicate that Donna Adelson immediately called Charlie? Yes. If she called Charlie because they were trying to cover some up, does that indicate that there could be a conspiracy? Yes. Or a jury can find that no, she was just trying to cover for her son, who she thought was a murderer. And that could be a different crime. But we're talking about Donna Adelson here, all right? And yeah, I think that eventually the state is going to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. But it only takes one to have Michael Bryant's view. But again, we're on day 2 of the witnesses. We have a lot to go. And remember, the boyfriend who I believe was being set up to take the fall for this hit, he's going to say that Wendi Adelson mentioned hiring a hitman to him. And then Wendi Adelson, 4 days before the hit on Markel, abruptly broke off her relationship because she doesn't like conflict. Now, that's bullshit, okay? All right, she obviously liked conflict. She obviously had no problem with conflict, all right? Let's call that one like it is. And sometimes those little nuggets are things that turn people against witnesses, all right? So we could all do what we should do, is presume Donna Adelson innocent right now. But we could also check the columns of things that show that she's guilty and things that show that she's not guilty. And my point recently was the things that are shown that she's not guilty, if you have them with this cross-examination, are going by the wayward because it kind of seems disorganized and it's not in a way that the jury can really follow it. Whereas the prosecution put things up on an email, but they put them in a PowerPoint, they highlight it. As a matter of fact, I was able to do some of these slides, which I then printed out because there they are. Okay, there they are, right? And all. So I know it was important to the prosecution and all. I don't know what's important to the defense. So that was my point with regard to the cross-examination of Wendi, which she should be a helpful witness to her mother, right? Because if you're putting her mother and her in the same cart, shall we say, shopping cart, and saying, well, neither of them are guilty, but maybe they love their Charlie, and for some reason, they're protecting him. But then you have that 18-minute calls, that 18-minute call in the morning of the hit that Wendi calls Charlie. Now, that does not implicate. So I'm saying to you, some of the things that implicate Wendi and Charlie don't implicate Donna. Some of the things that implicate Donna and Charlie don't implicate Wendi. But this is a conspiracy case. The theory is that these are spokes of the wheel, right? One person may not know what the other person is doing, but they all have the same kind of intent, which is to get rid of Dan Markel, right? Doug Weinstein in the chat. Doug, we love you. Showing you because I may need a new streaming partner. He cut off our stream today accidentally in his travels. Come on, help me. We'll send you a link. Come on and help me. Do you think that the state is on the way to proving a conspiracy or not? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Missy, send Doug a link to the StreamYard. Yeah, absolutely. Gibber is an insult in Yiddish? I did not know that. I thought it was an insulting name. Gibber was an insulting name, but I didn't realize it was insulting in Yiddish. Okay. I'd love to know that more. So, Doug, we're going to send you a link, all right? You may not love us for it, but They said, Michael Bryant accidentally hit the wrong button on his way here, cut us off. And so we had to restart our link, and we've lost like 800 of our chatters, but they're coming back. So as I said, this is just day one, but we have to remember this is a conspiracy case and solicitation and first degree. But, you know, you get somebody on a conspiracy, I'm sure the state would be happy. They don't care about the actual homicide if they get her on a conspiracy here. All right, I have this fruit fly who was annoying me here. He's still here. He or she is still here. Oh, I did a video on what gibbers means in Yiddish. I didn't realize when they called them gibbers. I knew it was a bad thing. I didn't know that it was a bad thing in Yiddish. Okay, so that's, but they were calling him definitely a bad thing. Okay. There's Donna. I said, Donna is dressed for the part in the grandmother sweater, though. We'll see. So my point is, this wasn't a Doug Weinstein cross-examination. Doug Weinstein, he does a cross, you get it. Boom, 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 boom. This is a rambling cross-examination that had some good points that I have already forgotten, and it was so rambling, and it was so rambling, in my opinion, that I couldn't even write down the good points down, okay? And then we had to take a break because there was something different that Wendi was saying, and they had to go over the transcripts, and we don't even know what the difference is. All right, and we should be knowing that and be talking about that while we're dealing with this, and we don't. Okay, of course we're going to. Doug Weinstein is the best. He is the best. Yeah. Sherry Schreiber says it's not an insult. Gibbers was not an insult. Missy Mayhem says those are jibber jabber. They kept saying that it was a cute name they gave him. That's no cute name. I'm sorry. It may have been a pseudonym, but it was no cute name. You know. It may not be an insult in Yiddish, but calling him by saying it's a cute name is, to me, is trying to pull the wool over my eyes. They were calling him a name that maybe they had decided was cute. You know. So, all right, I hear something. But there he is. I'm going to add him to the stage right now. There you go, Doug Weinstein. You may be my new streaming partner. What do you think's going on here?
You're going to boot Michael and take over?
Yeah.
You know, I only got to see the last part of the cross because I've been in court, but
They're still over there, but
you know, obviously I think it should have been a little more to the point. It was a bit meandering to me, at least the part I saw.
You saw right.
you can bring them in.
But everyone has their own style, right?
You can only be you in court, but
All right, you're
let's see if she's rising. But you can only be you in court, but you are great in court. And I would have a whole bunch of notes.
Ooh, thank you.
So I'd like to see what you think of what they do next, because we took a break to try to straighten whether she testified differently in a different hearing.
You may be seated. You may continue with your cross-examination,
Let's
Ms.
listen.
Fulford.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Adelson, isn't it true that before getting married to Mr. Markel in, was it 2006?
2006, we got married.
Isn't it true that you've stated that you knew on your fancy wedding day, when you were all dolled up and feeling like you were an actor in someone else's show, you knew it on your honeymoon when you were enjoying the vacation but not thrilled to be there with him? You said, I'm not sure I liked him, let alone loved him, but I was eager to start a life with someone and he wanted to do it with me. Recall saying that?
I don't recall saying that, no.
I have placed in front of you what's been previously marked as Defendant's Exhibit 1B for identification purposes. It's towards the bottom of page 3.
So, Doug, is gibbers do you know if gibbers is an anti-Semitic thing? Yeah.
I'm usually up on that stuff and I'm not aware of it.
Yeah.
I see that I said that in 2013.
Ms. Adelson, you would agree that when Danny Markel was murdered on June the 18th of 2014, your little boys lost their father for the rest of their life.
On the day that he was murdered was July 18th, and yes, my boys lost their father.
They're growing up as 11 years have passed without his influence in their life in any way. Isn't that correct?
I wouldn't say without his influence in any way, but yes, they've grown up without their father.
He's not here to give them advice.
He is not.
He can't come to any of their functions, sports, anything else.
Correct.
They're not eating kosher like they would have with their father.
They are not.
They don't have him at all.
They don't have him in their lives day to day, no.
Because on July the 18th of 2014, he was brutally murdered in his driveway. Isn't that true?
That is true.
And you testified on direct that anybody in your family that had anything to do with it should be held responsible. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And that includes you, doesn't it?
Anyone who's responsible.
Redirect examination.
When you said you were an actor in someone else's show, whose show was it?
I think I felt like I just wasn't fully present in my own life, that I had always been a real people pleaser. And so there was an aspect of not always being true to myself and wanting to make other people happy.
And one of those people is your mom, right?
Yes.
And that's part of why you kept going with relocation, even when you kind of had some doubts about it, right?
I would say it's part of the reason.
You were asked on cross-examination about the final order on relocation issued June 20th, 2013. And didn't you stipulate to making it with prejudice, I guess? Do you remember doing that?
I don't actually remember stipulating. I mean, I see it in the order, but I don't remember actively saying anything or participating in a stipulation.
In fact, when you testified about this previously, didn't you indicate you didn't know what with prejudice meant?
I think it's not something that comes up in my daily practice. And so at the time I had forgotten that it meant that it was a final order.
All right. And it was suggested or said on cross that you didn't tell your mom it was final and she was misled and she thought there was still room for it, right?
That is what was said to me on cross.
I'm going to approach and show you what I've marked as 64JJ. Just take a moment to review this exhibit and let me know when you're done.
Okay.
I like this judge, by the way.
You like the what?
I like the judge.
I love the judge, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you recognize that email?
I mean, I recognize the email address. Is that what you mean?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
The email from.
The email is from my mom and dad's email address to a friend of theirs.
Who's the friend?
The Klegermans. I think it's Vicky, the woman in the relationship.
Okay, and it's signed Love Donna, right?
Yes, sorry. So it's from my mom.
And in this email, does she indicate to the Klingermans that there is no chance at the appellate level for appeal of your relocation?
Yes, that's what the email says.
All right, and is that email dated 6/25 of 13?
Yes.
So 5 days after the order was issued, your mom did know that that order was final, based on this.
Based on that email, yes.
Okay, it was, you were asked questions about, your mom never suggested any harm to Dan Markel to you, but she did want to bribe him, yes?
Yes.
Take control from him, weren't those her words?
Yes.
Aggravate him,
Yes.
scare him.
I don't remember scare him, but I believe that was part of it.
Give him some grief.
Yes.
Take something from him.
Yes.
Show that fucker what would make him absolutely miserable,
Yes.
but definitely not kill him, right?
I don't know what the question is.
Ooh,
Donna was caring and devoted to your boys. You were asked about that. That's true, right?
Yes.
In fact, she maybe cared a little too much about your life and you and what was going on with you sometimes, right?
I don't know that you can care too much.
Even the Nazi uniform craziness came from her version of some kind of place of love. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Because although her lawyers tried to downplay this, she was suggesting a baptism for these kids, right?
Yes.
She said she looked into it and could get it done in 2 weeks, right?
I believe that's what it said.
And didn't she justify the means or claim that this would be harmless to your children because it was just like playing dress up to them, right?
Yes.
Just like Jake the Pirates.
Yes.
She thought the ends, relocation, would justify the means, didn't she?
Yes.
And she thought a move to South Florida was what was best for you
Yes.
and what was best for your children,
Yes.
who she cared about more than anyone in the world.
I mean, I don't know who she cared about most in the world, but she loves
there-
me.
Is there anyone that she cares about more than those two boys?
My dad?
Okay. She thought relocation was best for those boys. They were
Yes.
going to have better opportunities, right?
Yes.
Better family support,
Yes.
a happier mother
Yes.
with a more lucrative profession.
Yes.
And your lives all depended on it. Isn't that what she said?
Yes.
And Dan Markel could have agreed, couldn't he?
He was amenable, but then he didn't want to ultimately.
Well, he could have moved to South Florida, right? Isn't that what you were asked on cross?
Yes, he could have.
Could have moved to South Florida and enjoyed all that delicious kosher food down there, right?
Yes.
And if he had relented, you and he could have had separate lives in Miami and happily co-parented the boys, right?
In
That
theory,
could have happened.
Yes, it could have.
Except he wouldn't relent, would he?
I mean, he said no, and so we had a hearing, and the judge said no.
Right. He wouldn't relent. He wouldn't give your mom what she wanted, would he?
I mean, we only had one conversation about it, so it wasn't like a ongoing thing.
It wasn't an ongoing thing? What wasn't?
I mean, between Danny and I, we talked about relocation. He said he would think about it, and then he said he didn't want to. And then we had the hearing, and then that was the end of it for me.
Yes, but you were asked on cross, wouldn't things have been potentially great for Danny down there too?
Yes, I think they would have.
Couldn't we all have lived happily ever after if he would have agreed to move down there too? Possibly, right?
Possibly.
But he wouldn't agree.
He didn't agree, no.
Nothing further.
Jury, before we continue this afternoon, we will take a brief break. The bailiff will take you back to the jury room.
Judge Works, a brief break. Now, Doug, that to me was an organized, direct, clear, succinct, and insightful redirect.
It was really well done. So were you surprised there weren't some objections on this request for, calls for speculation on some of those answers? But
Yeah, on some of them, yeah, and that's been the way all the way through. I feel like the defense has missed opportunities a lot of times.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of speculation as to what mom is thinking.
Yes, go ahead.
There will not be any for a problem.
Very well.
Sure.
There being no need for a proffer from this witness, you may step down. Ms. Kappelman, will you be recalling her at any point under your subpoena?
I don't intend to, Judge, but I would ask that she remain under the rule at this time.
Very
She's free to
well.
go about her business.
You are not to discuss your testimony with any other person who will be testifying in this trial. Mr. Lauro, will you need to be heard any further, sir? Have a good day. The state's next witness will be whom this afternoon?
Robert Adelson.
All right, you can bring the jurors back in.
Who was the next witness, Oasis Cat? I missed it.
Did you want to instruct him?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay, so could I go ahead and call him in?
One moment, don't bring the jurors in just yet. You can bring in Mr. Adelson. Everyone can be seated.
Rob, okay.
So does Donna have hearing issues? Is that what that is?
I'm sorry, what did you say, Doug?
Does Donna have hearing issues?
I don't know, or whether they have that there just so she can put it on for a sidebar, because she's not going up to the sidebars
We would have ours in YSL, put them on and take them off.
and take them off. It's kind of like, if you look at them, they're not.
Testify this afternoon. I just wanted to make sure the court's prior ruling on this matter, you understood and you were clear on. When you're testifying, you are not to testify about any opinions that you have concerning whether your family members or your mother may have committed a crime. Do you understand this?
Yes.
Does the defense or state wish for there to be any further instruction from the court that does not otherwise cover the substance of the ruling?
No, sir. No, sir.
Please bring the jurors. Yep.
She supposedly has small ear canals, she says, in one of the things that she can't hear well.
As you are watching the evidence and testimony, please remain quiet. If you need to speak with
I
each
just
other,
wouldn't
please
want my
do so
client
silently
looking
or
like they were on
so
trial at
quietly.
Nuremberg.
There should not be any murmuring happening whatsoever as the witnesses are testifying. Please bring them in.
Jury entering courtroom.
Yeah, okay. Rob is going to be, that's their son, that's her son. The testimony, I believe, in the past has been that the mom forced him to break up with somebody who was not Jewish. He married somebody the mom wanted to marry because she was very controlling. It didn't go well. He got divorced and ended up marrying the love of his life. His mom basically has disowned him.
To give in this matter will be the truth.
I swear.
You may take your seat.
Well,
Please
the
speak
life of
loudly
10% of the boys in South Miami, in Miami.
Ms. Dugan, you may examine.
Thank you. Could you tell us your name and spell your name for our court reporter, please?
Sure. Robert Todd Adelson, Adelson.
Thank you. And what state do you currently live in?
New York.
And how long have you lived in New York?
13 years.
Okay, so since maybe 2012?
Yes.
All right. What do you do for a living in New York?
I'm an ENT.
Okay, so ear, nose, and throat doctor?
Yes.
And how long have you worked as an ENT?
For 20 years.
How do you know the defendant in this case, Donna Adelson?
She's my mother.
And Harvey Adelson's your dad?
Yes.
Wendi and Charlie Adelson are your siblings?
Yes.
Okay. And where did you grow up?
In Coral Springs, Florida.
Is that a bit north of Miami?
Yep.
About how long of a drive?
About an hour north of Miami.
Okay. When y'all were growing up, did you all, the five of you, live in the same house as a family?
Yes.
And who's the oldest child?
I am.
Okay. Who's the middle child?
Charlie.
How many years between you and Charlie?
3 years between Charlie and I.
And then who's the youngest then is Wendi?
Yes.
And how many years between Charlie and Wendi?
3 years.
Okay. When you were 18, did you move out of the Coral Springs house?
Yes, when I went to college.
Okay. And did you go to college at University of Florida?
I went to Tulane.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Did you live in Gainesville at some point?
I did, yes.
Okay, thank you. So after you went to college at Tulane and then went on to med school, went on to residency, throughout those years, did you continue to talk to your parents and your siblings on a regular basis?
Yes.
And would you see them a couple of times a year?
Yes.
When you were in school, would you go home for the summer?
Yes.
Based on your personal observations throughout your life of your parents and of your siblings, who's the leader in the family? Who tends to run the show?
I think my mom.
Okay, so Donna Adelson.
Yes.
Would you describe Donna Adelson's personality as being more controlling or more laid back?
I think more on the controlling side.
What about, is she kind of a more assertive person or a more passive person?
More assertive.
What about your dad, Harvey Adelson? What's his personality like?
I think he's more passive, more go with the flow.
Okay. So they're kind of opposites in that way a bit?
Yeah.
When you and your siblings were growing up, was Donna Adelson a very involved parent?
Yes.
And when I say involved, as far as with your life and with your friends and with school and with that type of thing?
Absolutely.
Did she have certain fixed ideas throughout your life of certain things she wanted to happen in you and your siblings' life?
Yes, absolutely.
Was it acceptable if you decided to not do those certain certain things that she was fixated she wanted you to do? Was that acceptable to her or no?
No. I think she had certain sort of rigid, fixed ideas or impressions for what she wanted for us. And, if you went along with that, things were fine. If you didn't, things were not fine.
Did she have strong opinions about who you all married and what you all did for a living and those types of things?
Yes.
And you're obviously a doctor. Was that an acceptable profession to her?
Yeah, that was okay.
Okay. And was that one of the reasons you became a doctor?
Yes.
Okay. How involved was Donna in yours, Charlie, and Wendi Adelson's life after you grew up, became adults, and had kids of your own?
I think still involved.
Was she more involved with your life, Charlie's life, or Wendy's life, would you say?
Probably more involved with Wendi and probably to a lesser degree with Charlie.
Okay. And then would you be she's the least involved with your life out of the three?
Yeah, probably because I was older, but sure, I agree.
Okay, so you're the oldest child. You're out of the house before the other two?
Yep.
Okay, and then you also lived other places after you went to college throughout the rest of your life?
Yes.
Now, was this like a healthy level of involvement that she had with the three of your lives, or was it more of like a micromanaging as you saw it?
I think it was certainly between over-involved and controlling. It probably lended itself more toward controlling, but there's in various realms, more or less. But I think certainly that was a tension.
Okay, so a little more on the controlling side.
Yes.
And does that include your personal lives as far as your relationships and in your professions, your jobs?
Yes.
Was it Charlie who always needed more attention than the other two children?
I think so, yes.
When did Wendy's life start becoming one that she needed to pay or give more attention to?
I think when she had some troubles in her marriage, I wasn't aware there were any troubles in her marriage until Wendi left. But I think around that time when she had two young children, I think that was when she became more involved. And I was, at that point living, pretty good distance away.
Okay. Were you living in Philadelphia at the time?
Yeah, but first in Philly and then in New York where we live now.
Okay. And so Charlie always got a lot of attention, and then Donna also started giving her attention also to Wendy's life once Wendi starts going through the separation or divorce.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. From your interactions with Donna Adelson through your whole life growing up and even as an adult, would you describe her as someone who's mentally sharp, thinking about things from all angles, or is she someone who's a little more gullible? Yes, sir.
Okay, so they want to be heard on this issue. Doug, what is this about?
I don't know. What do you think? Calling for a opinion of some kind?
Or opinion, more gullible. I guess the foundation of whether he was living with the family or growing up. What is he, 5 to 18 or whatever? And we all know what happened here. He's testified before. I mean, I just feel, you look at him, I just feel so bad.
I feel terrible for him. I mean, really terrible. You can tell he's just, I mean, what he's been through, he's got to be miserable up there.
Yeah, it's got to be absolutely miserable. But I do think that the prosecutors got out the name of the fact that and I keep calling her Donna Adelson, as she's the Don of the family. That things, she's controlling the family, and he seems to have indicated that right early on, and I guess we're going to get into why. Yeah. But they now want all of a sudden defense wants to be heard on this issue. It would seem to me that's something that they should have made a motion on earlier. Whether it's relevant, I don't know.
Perhaps they did, and maybe that they're not maybe the defense doesn't think the prosecutor's following whatever earlier order came out from the court regarding this. No, because I didn't see the pretrial, motions or hearings.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was on it. I mean, I'm not sure. Okay, so this is her full name. The prosecutor is Sarah Catherine Dugan. She actually also did the opening statements. Kappelman is the lead prosecutor, but she didn't do the opening statements here this time. So the jury is getting both prosecutors' involvement. Obviously, it seems to me that Kappelman gets the more important witnesses, but wow, I mean, he's going to tell this the sad story about the mother, and I gather if they prove the prosecutors prove that she's really controlling and she has to have her way and nothing in the family happens unless she authorizes it. How close does that get to her authorizing then a hit on Dan Markel? Does that get them closer?
But Linda, how much of this is bad character evidence that perhaps shouldn't come in? I'm assuming they litigated that already.
Yeah, I think they have in all different avenues, but this time it's against the defendant. I mean, I think in the other trials, Donna wasn't the defendant, right?
Right, but yeah. I don't know. I'm a little confused that some of this is coming in without objection, unless it was already dealt with in a earlier motion in limine.
Yeah. Well, the emails definitely were dealt with. The judge ruled the emails were coming in if there was a foundation that Donna had sent the emails. So they I don't think they didn't even deal with the bad character on that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I even heard that, but there was an objection that the emails couldn't be attributed to her because it was a joint account with her husband. And this, so yeah, that's an interesting point that perhaps there should have been more litigation on whether or not this was character assassination. I have the feeling that Judge Everett would say, look, if the prosecution established the basis for a motive and that she, this is a conspiracy and she pulled the strings, that's why it comes in.
Yeah.
Are you up on the whole bump issue on this case, the FBI tickle the wire?
No.
Because to get things moving, I guess, for the case, because everything had been silent, it's 11 years, they've been going after stuff. The FBI did a bump on Donna Adelson with an undercover investigator where they handed her a article on Markel's death with $5,000 in red written over it. And he said, look, my friend needs $5,000 more on this. And she didn't do anything for a while, but then the bump, it was silent for 3 days. So they texted her, the undercover texted her and said, look, I'm waiting. And she said, well, I don't know who your friend is. He said, well, I'll tell you who it is. You just, you get the money ready. And then she calls Charlie Adelson. So the tickle the wire has an effect that things happen and all. But so I think that's where, they're going to the fact that they picked out Donna.
Objection is sustained. You may continue with your examination.
All right. Doug, you won your objection.
There you go. That doesn't happen very often.
Were Charlie and Donna Adelson dependent on each other or pretty independent from each other?
I would say Charlie was probably somewhat dependent on my mom to help him out with organizing stuff, his dental practice. I think he probably relied on her a lot.
Okay. You mentioned the dental practice. When you were growing up, who owned the dental practice?
My dad.
Okay. And throughout your life, was Donna Adelson in charge of the money at Adelson Institute?
I always, I wouldn't know the inside workings of it, but I always remember my mom like signing the checks and writing the checkbook at the table, like when I was back in middle school or high school. So.
Okay. So even back then, she would do some bookkeeping or payroll type things at home.
That's my memory of it.
Okay. And then did the dental practice, you said it obviously started out at Harvey's. Do you remember a time when Charlie Adelson took over?
I remember my dad making a joke about him having a very understanding boss because Charlie was now his boss. So.
Do not testify to what others have stated out of court. You may testify as to your knowledge, but not what someone else specifically said. The objection is sustained. You may continue.
I understand you were telling us how you remember that, but can you just tell us around what year do you remember that happening?
Around 2012, Charlie purchased the practice.
Okay, and then was there a time that you remember Charlie somehow selling it back to Harvey? Harvey Adelson is then becoming the head of the practice again.
I will permit you to answer the question if you have knowledge of this matter.
My memory of that was sometime in like fall to winter of 2015 to 16, somewhere right around there. That's my memory.
Okay, so fall to winter of 2015.
Turning into 2016. That's my memory.
Okay. Now, you mentioned Donna Adelson doing payroll at Adelson Institute throughout your life. If someone were to ask Donna Adelson, or if someone asked Donna Adelson to do something, is she the type of person that just snaps to it, or does she have some questions first?
Overall, this is not going to motion limited. You may answer the question.
No, I don't think she would just snap to and do what someone told her to.
Okay. Is she the type of person who's going to have some questions if you ask her to do something?
I think she would definitely have some questions.
Okay. How did Donna Adelson feel about Dan Markel when he and Wendi first got together and were headed towards marriage?
He was very positive about him.
Okay, so he was somebody she approved of.
Yes.
All right, and how did that change as Wendi and Danny's relationship soured? They ended up moving towards divorce.
So I really only heard anything bad about Danny after Wendi moved out. I didn't hear anything bad about him prior to that date.
Okay, so just kind of went from everything's fine to then hearing bad things about him.
Yes.
And when you say hearing bad things about him, like from her? From Donna Adelson, I'm
yes.
sorry? Okay. And how did Donna Adelson feel about Dan Markel in 2014?
I mean, she hated him.
And would this come from your knowledge of that, come from things that she would say to you?
Yes. I mean, yeah.
Did you observe that Wendi played a bit of a damsel in distress, in your opinion, in the divorce?
Yes, I think that's a good way to describe it.
Did Donna Adelson ever talk to you about Wendi Adelson and Dan Markel's divorce?
I apologize. Did Donna Adelson? I apologize. Can I hear the question again?
Did Donna Adelson ever talk to you about Wendi and Dan Markel's divorce?
Some. I mean, the phrase that sticks in my head is that Danny was depoing Wendi to death. I wasn't involved with all the various motions. I remember that phrase. I remember there being a lot of court motions back and forth. But I remember that phrase. I remember some complaints about like very long either mediation or depositions that Wendi had to endure. Okay,
so this is Donna saying Wendy's having to go through these things.
Yes.
Okay, and just telling you about it.
Yes.
How did Donna tell you that, or did she tell you that how Wendi was planning to leave Dan Markel and give him the news that she was leaving the marriage?
Then you're going to need to rephrase this in such a way the witness can answer, Mr.
Sure. how did Donna Adelson describe to you how Wendi Adelson left the marriage?
Object to hearsay?
Mr. Dugan, please approach.
Okay, here we go. So now we're finally getting objections, hearsay, opinion, but he got out that after she hated Dan Markel. I mean, that's what I'm going to remember.
She had the follow-up question that was clearly in her notes because she was expecting an objection.
Right. Right. Which
right?
is, how do you know that, right?
Yeah.
Right. How do you know that? And there was no objection.
No objection. Like, where's the objection? Even I was about to object there.
Yeah, I was like, you're right. She had it in there because she was expecting it, and then there was no objection. How do you know that? You know?
Yeah,
Well, maybe they have this. Yeah, maybe they have the statement. Well, she told me, and then it becomes an admission against her interest. But
Well,
you know,
I mean, they would have gotten it out anyway, but I would have expected an objection there.
Yeah, and yeah, we're getting some objections now, and it's pushing the prosecutor a little bit off her game, Sarah Catherine Dugan, a little bit off her game. And that's, you know, and if you start seeing that, you and I both know you keep doing that, right?
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, you keep objecting. But Dan was motioning Wendi to death. Again, I mean, I think that I don't know how he felt, but I think about that she hated him was a more forceful statement than all the rest. I mean, I would have kind of like almost ended it there.
Yeah. That's a terrible statement to come in. But I mean, I guess on cross, if it's possible, you kind of need to get, these divorces are ugly, right? All kinds of family members say things in divorces. It doesn't mean they go out and they kill their future ex-son-in-law.
Right. Especially if it's the mother-in-law and the brother. It's not even, I mean, I can see the spouse, right? Because we know cases where sometimes the spouse, the fighting spouse kills the lawyer. That's what I always worry about.
We had that in Atlanta a couple of years ago.
Really? Holy moly.
Yeah, terrible. Never, by the way, for those of you out there, we're off limits. Don't kill us, please.
Yeah, criminal defense attorneys are definitely off limits. I always say that to people, that I'm not worried. People always ask me, aren't you worried about somebody behind you? No, not in a criminal defense court. If I were a family court lawyer, I'd be like terrified. Yeah. Somebody behind me. We had that up in New Jersey too. It was in family court that people got killed. The lawyers in court got killed in Essex County in Newark. Somebody was, smuggled a gun through somebody who worked there and went and shot somebody right in the middle of a court hearing.
Yeah, here they went to the lawyer's office and did it there.
Oh, so. That's bad too.
Yeah.
But he looks terribly uncomfortable here.
I mean, it's what. Continue with your examination.
My question is, if he's close enough to get Donna Adelson tell you about the plan for Wendi Adelson to leave the marriage?
Sure. When she told me that that she had been in Tallahassee for several months.
This is Donna Adelson,
yes, that she had been in Tallahassee for several months, renting a new place for Wendi, arranging for movers, moving money around, and getting things set up. I only knew this after Wendi had moved out, but she was relating to me what had occurred over the summer. And so I heard this all at once, but probably 5-6 days after Wendi had moved out, and then told me that the somewhat gleefully or pleased that they timed the phone call to Danny right before he was supposed to give a speech at the meeting he was at.
Okay. So a couple questions about that. You said Donna said that she had been up here in Tallahassee moving money around and getting things ready for Wendi. Do you mean for when Wendi moved out and needed a place of her own?
Yes.
Okay. And what did Donna tell you that she did to try to, I guess, hide the fact that they were renting a place for Wendi?
I remember her saying she had used her maiden name so there wouldn't be an Adelson up here renting, or hiring movers or such.
Just so like word of mouth wouldn't get around that Wendi Adelson was renting an apartment, something like that.
Sure.
Okay. So they used Donna's maiden name.
Yes.
Donna did. And
Gleefully. You forgot the word gleefully.
Then you said that their plan was for Wendi to call Dan Markel as he was getting on stage, or right before he got on stage, to give a speech at a conference.
That's what I was told.
Okay. And what was Donna's demeanor when she was describing this plan to you, about how she was able to set up this place for Wendi to live in, everything was ready for her, and then this is how she gave Dan the news?
I think she sounded.
Donna's the one that gave the news? If not, then we
I
go.
believe the question was, what was her demeanor? You may
Yes, sir.
answer the question.
She sounded pleased to me.
Did you ever see Donna Adelson doing anything to help Wendi Adelson with the divorce?
I think she was, answering a lot of emails and looking over, emails that went back and forth, looking over motions and such.
Did you personally see that when she was visiting you? Did you see Donna Adelson doing those things?
Yes.
Okay. Was there an occasion when you all were in the hospital and Donna came to visit and was doing those things in the hospital?
I think it was at our home at the time, right before he went to the hospital. But yes, that's where we, saw the email.
Okay. And while she was at your house during that time, was that when you were living in Philadelphia?
That was in Albany.
Albany, okay. Did she want the Wi-Fi at that time so that she could get on the internet and work on these filings?
Yeah, she said she had things to do to help out with the divorce.
What date would that have been? Do you remember?
October of 12.
Did Donna Adelson tell you that Wendi Adelson was trying to get permission to relocate to Miami?
Yes.
And did Donna Adelson tell you about the $1 million bribe she wanted to offer Dan Markel?
Yes.
During the year or two after Wendi Adelson left Dan Markel, how much time was Donna Adelson spending in Tallahassee?
From
Jeff wasn't here. He had personal knowledge of her being here.
You may answer as to your personal knowledge on the subject matter.
I can rephrase, Judge. Did Donna Adelson
No need to
tell you
rephrase.
information about how much time she was having to spend in Tallahassee?
she said that Wendi needed a lot of help because now she has 2 boys on her own, and so she was up there a lot. And I think yes.
Okay. Who cared more about Wendi Adelson's divorce from your conversations? Was it Donna or Charlie?
Donna.
What types of things does Charlie care about? What are kinds of things is he really into?
Like go-karts, jet skis, going out, boats, not Wendy's divorce.
Okay. And is Donna Adelson very into her kids and grandkids and
Yes.
their success?
Yes.
Do you think Wendy's divorce or her moving, do you think Wendi and her boys moving to Miami was particularly important to Charlie Adelson from your observations?
I don't think so.
During the divorce, from your conversations with Donna, was she fixated on Wendi taking this job with a guy named Gary Cohen in Miami?
Yes, that was a common discussion point.
Okay. Did she seem like it was just something that she kind of thought would be a good idea, or something that she seemed to have a real obsession with?
It came up a lot in my discussions with her about this job with Gary, where she'd be making $1 million a year and should be a partner. And it was something that was brought up a lot, that she'd be able to take care of her kids in a way that she couldn't up in Tallahassee. And then it was probably the one thing that she mentioned to me. The only time I heard any anger after the murder had occurred was that I asked, is Wendi going to go work for Gary now? And she told me that.
Did the job end up not working out?
As far as I know, it didn't.
Okay. And that you heard some anger from Donna when that happened?
She said that his partners wouldn't let them hire her until
Okay.
Sorry.
But there was some anger there because the job didn't end up working out.
Yes.
They couldn't hire Wendi, or didn't want to hire Wendi after all.
That's what I was told.
Okay, thank you. Now, during the summer of 2014, did Wendi Adelson, I'm going to move on to 2014 now, did Wendi Adelson send you a text where she referenced having a boyfriend?
Yes.
And was this before Dan Markel's murder?
Yes.
Why was that memorable to you?
It was just unusual. Wendi, never was someone who would, share her, romantic life or boyfriends or, tell me or, text me about anyone she was dating. So it just stood out as, unique or different.
Okay. What did she, was there something in particular that she said that struck you as also unusual?
Objection, hearsay.
Okay. I guess, was it your impression that your parents knew about this boyfriend at the time or no?
No, the text said, don't tell the parents.
Well,
Members of the jury, you are to disregard the last response of the witness.
may I approach, Judge?
You may.
Okay, don't tell parents got in, and now the prosecutor wants to approach. Doug, explain what just happened there to us.
I'm not really sure, and I don't know what that was about. What you tell me?
Well, they has this boyfriend. It's unusual. I know there's an issue of her getting a boyfriend trying to set him up for possibly the murder. The prosecution wants to argue of Dan Markel, but don't tell the parents. I have no idea. So chat, help us here.
Yeah.
Why is it so important to the prosecutor that Wendi wanted the parents not to know about her boyfriend?
Was her boyfriend not Jewish?
That's what I'm thinking on it because okay, so June. It was June who first brought up Jeff after Wendi named her parents' brother and Amy's ex-husband. But that's different. That's Jeff. So I don't know. I mean, that's what happened with him. But he's clearly was estranged, but sort of still enough of the family that he had these conversations.
Yeah, I mean, when I hear estranged, I think no communication, but clearly he was more like distant, I would say, than estranged.
I think that's a good way to put it, that it was distant, that maybe for a while he had some issues, didn't like his parents for, not granting permission for him to marry the love of his life because she wasn't Jewish. And then, he did. And now I guess you could say that maybe he's grown up enough and he's tough enough with his own decisions that he could still have some communications with him. So, I don't know. The prosecutor has a reason for this and fighting for it. And it came in, by the way. And explain to people, it's so hard because regular people who testify don't understand hearsay and how do you know this? Well, I know this because somebody told me.
Yeah.
So
I know a lot of times, we have to brief witnesses before they take the stand about things they really can't get into.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, this is what happened to him. And Madeira Beach caregiver, welcome back. Dr. Rob Adelson lives with his first love, his wife. Originally, he was to marry her, but his family disparaged her so badly for not being Jewish. He broke it off. Then he married somebody who was. It didn't work out. And then he went back and he married the love of his life. And apparently, it didn't go well when the mom initially, when he wanted to marry the love of his life, Dr. Harith.
May continue your examination, Ms. Dugan.
Okay, so I was asking you about this text that you received from Wendi Adelson. Can you tell me about this text?
Sure. She texted me that she was going to Gainesville for the weekend, and this was 2014. So I last lived in Gainesville about 3 years prior to that. Mentioned that she wanted that. I mentioned the name of Jeff. I asked who was Jeff. The response was my boyfriend. I responded I didn't know. And he said, you wouldn't, I didn't hear it from the parents. He says, they don't know. And so it just struck me and then she sent me some pictures of Jeff with her and the boys. It struck me as unique because she'd never shared the name or photograph of a boyfriend before.
Okay, so.
Members of the jury, as to the last question and response, you are not to consider the hearsay statement for the truth of the matter asserted. You may continue.
Okay. So it was unusual for her to talk to you about boyfriends at all.
Yes.
But you also felt it was unusual that she's telling you about this boyfriend when even your parents don't know about him yet.
Right.
And she was closer to her parents at the time than you.
Correct.
Okay. What date was that text message sent?
The very end of June, like 26 or 28 of 14, but that last weekend.
Okay. So it was prior to 4th of July weekend.
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember where in those photographs Wendi is with her sons and Jeff?
Like Wakulla Springs, something like that.
Okay.
And they were in front of a board that said that.
And did you let her know you wouldn't mention him to her parents or to your parents?
Yes.
Did that strike you as so unusual that after Dan Markel was murdered, you felt, I guess, compelled to tell police, like, hey, I heard she has this boyfriend she hasn't told anybody about named Jeff?
Yes, I did. The FBI came to my house and I spoke to them once, and either it didn't come up or, it's a bit nerve-wracking talking to the FBI, and that they didn't ask any questions about that. And then, I guess over the ensuing week, I'd heard about like this Prius and this unsolved murder. And I remembered, it struck me as odd that I was sent these photographs of a boyfriend and not to tell the parents about him. And so that's when I wanted to have a clean conscience. So I reached out to the FBI and I said, I don't know if this matters, but I figured I would, tell you about this. And they came back for a second interview and looked at the pictures.
Okay. When is your father, Harvey Adelson's birthday?
July 5.
Okay, so on July 5th of 2014, how old would he have turned that year?
70.
Okay, and this is about 2 to 3 weeks before Dan Markel was killed?
Yes.
Did your family do anything to celebrate his birthday that year?
Yes, we had a party at their condo.
Okay, was there a gift from the family or from any of you to him?
No. I remember an email, and my dad is not someone who wants gifts or a big deal made about him, and so the email is something like, your dad doesn't want gifts; he just wants all of his kids to be with him on his birthday.
And was that from Donna Adelson?
Yes.
So she's basically just letting know you and your kids coming is going to be his gift.
Correct.
And everybody, all the kids and grandkids being
Correct.
there. Okay. Did the family ever discuss going on a cruise?
No, not with me.
When a birthday gift is given for somebody in the family, does Donna Adelson typically say, we're going to get him this, everybody owes this much, everybody's going to pay a third, or whatever it is?
Yeah, if there was like a big gift we're getting, or they said, we're getting this for someone, and you can be part of it, that was not uncommon.
Okay. So tell us about the party. You said it was at the Continuum?
Yes, at their apartment.
Okay. So is that like a condo building in Miami?
Yeah, on Miami Beach.
Okay. On Miami Beach, like South Beach?
Yeah.
Okay. And is it a secure building?
It's very secure. It was, we were staying at a hotel down the street, and there was armed guards, and apparently there's a lot of celebrities that live there. It was a very high, very secure building. Okay.
And these celebrities that lived there, were they people that you knew of? I mean, you knew who they were?
Sure. Yeah, A-Rod.
Did these people have kind of guards of their own too in the building?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. So the guards that you saw were the guards in the front?
Yes.
All right. Had your parents, how recently had they moved to the Continuum?
I got the idea, it was certainly less than a year. Like, I don't remember exactly, but seemed like they said they were going to try living down in South Beach to see if they liked it for their retirement. And so it had to be sometime, before, because they were pretty well moved in there. But I don't remember the exact time, but if I'm guessing, like maybe 6 months before or something like that.
Okay. So by the weekend of the party, July 5th, are they like fully moved into their condo there?
Yes.
Okay. And are they living there full time? From what you know?
It seemed like that, but I couldn't. I know they still own the house in Coral Springs, so I don't know if they're just there on the weekends, but I couldn't say definitively, but it looked like they were living there fully.
Okay. Was his party on his actual birthday or another day of the week?
No, on his actual birthday.
All right. Was your brother Charlie there that weekend?
Yes.
Wendi and her sons, were they there?
Yes.
Was the party catered?
Yeah, there was, yes.
What type of food did you have?
There were like past hors d'oeuvres, and then there was a paella chef on the balcony.
Okay. Was the party a surprise for Harvey?
No,
So you were never told, don't tell him about it, it's a surprise,
No.
anything like that? Don't tell him. Were you not supposed to tell him anything about the party that was a surprise?
no, there was nothing about a surprise birthday.
Was there ever a time in the weeks leading up to the party that you heard that the party may be canceled for any reason?
No, never.
All right, so how did you first hear about Dan Markel's murder?
I heard the day after the shooting occurred, so that would be Saturday, July 19. I was at a meeting in Chicago, and I think I got a phone call first, and that I was in a meeting, and so I just said, can I call you later? And then I got a text message shortly thereafter, like right before 10 in the morning. It said, like, tragedy here, please call.
And are these from Donna Adelson?
Yes.
Okay. So were you able to call her that morning from the conference in Chicago?
Yeah, so I walked out and went to the hotel lobby and just hit call.
Okay. And tell us about that conversation with her.
So it's one of those moments that you'll just remember forever. So I remember being in the Adlesen, and I assumed something terrible had happened, and but I wasn't ready for it. She said, so we just want to let you know that Danny's been shot, and they took him to the hospital, but he didn't make it. And it didn't make any sense. And I probably asked like a few medical questions, and they said they're driving up to go help Wendi, and we'll talk to you later. We can't talk now.
Okay. Was she crying in that conversation?
Not in
Donna
that
Adelson?
conversation.
Sir?
No, she was not.
Okay.
It was very matter of fact.
Did she ever give you any further detail that weekend about how he'd been shot, or other than just Danny was shot and he didn't make it?
I think it was the next day. So the only really other time that I spoke with him that weekend, I was in the airport going home, like Sunday afternoon. So it was definitely the next day, and it was the first time I could actually have any kind of conversation. And one of the things that she told me is it bothered me, but I didn't have any other details about. But she said that someone went to the front door and said, "Are you Dan Markel?" and then shot him. And then I said, "Well, how could you know that? Who's telling you that?" And she said, "Well, that's just what they're telling us." And
Okay. So she said someone told her that someone knocked on Danny's door, said, "Are you Dan Markel?" He said yes, and the shooter shot him.
That's the story I heard. And, later we found out that wasn't what happened, but that story bothered me a lot because there's only one way you could hear that story.
Was she crying when she told you that information?
No.
You mentioned earlier that law enforcement contacted you after Dan Markel's murder. Did they contact you to try to see if you knew any information?
They came to our house. I was already at work, and so they talked to my wife. It had to be a Wednesday or Thursday, so I was already at work.
And is this your house in New York?
Yes.
Okay. Did you end up talking to law enforcement and answering their questions, letting them know what you knew?
Yeah, they came to my office the next day, and we with two agents, and we had an interview.
Okay. After that conversation you said it was the FBI earlier, right?
Yes.
Okay. After that conversation with the FBI, did Donna Adelson ever say anything to you about having talked to law enforcement or the FBI?
It was either that afternoon or the next day, but and she called me and said, just want to let you know, if the police come around, don't talk to them.
Okay, so she told you not to talk to law enforcement.
Correct.
Did you let her know that you already had talked to law
And
enforcement?
I said I already did.
What did she say to that?
She said, "Oh, well, you don't know anything anyway."
You don't know anything anyway?
Correct.
Was that an unusual statement coming from your mother?
Yeah, everything that week was unusual, but I clearly didn't know anything, but I wasn't going to not talk to the FBI if they show up at my house.
How did you respond
That's not a good fact.
Let me ask you this. After the murder of Dan Markel, did Donna Adelson seem curious about who killed Dan Markel?
No.
Was there a complete lack of curiosity?
Yeah, nobody seemed curious.
Did you actually ever ask her, like after the murder, like, hey, like, what do you think happened? What do you?
Yeah, and the conversations were kind of rerouted, or that was certainly discouraged, and it was probably like maybe sometime like mid-August, when I finally had a chance to ask and say, what is going on? This was not a small event. This was getting a lot of notoriety, and I said, what do you guys think happened? And she had said, I don't know and I don't care. It doesn't concern me.
Was that out of character for her to not be curious and not be asking some questions?
Yeah, I mean, it was an unsolved murder of, my former brother-in-law, like someone that we all know very well. If it was like some neighborhood gossip, people would be interested. This was like national interest, and nobody had any curiosity about, who did this to Danny.
Is a person, you mentioned that, not only is it your brother-in-law, but it was like national news at that point as well.
Yes.
And regardless of it being national news or not, I mean, is a person dying from gun violence an extremely unusual thing to happen in your family?
Yeah, I mean, to this day, Danny's the only person that I know who's died from gun violence or been a victim of gun violence. So it's unique in that manner.
What would your mom, Donna Adelson, do if you did try to like ask her any more about Danny's murder after that?
It wasn't a subject for discussion. It would be rerouted, or it was just not a subject to discuss.
When you say rerouted, do you mean like changing the subject?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fast forward to 2016. Do you remember in May of 2016 when Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera were arrested?
Yeah, I do. I actually saw it in the OR lounge. Someone told me about it. So it had to be like a Wednesday, and
you were in the operating room lounge.
Yeah, it was
and someone
the lounge.
told you about
it.
it.
It was someone else, because stories like this people see on Twitter or such, and I remember someone telling me like, hey, did you hear about that case? Because it's more than one person had followed it, and I saw it. And then, that was on the 26th. And I remember the dates because our anniversary is on the 28th of May. My wife and I were like, should we call them? Like they arrested some guy who killed Danny. And
when you say them, you mean like, should we call my parents? And
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it was big news that even people you work with were seeing that there were finally some arrests made.
Right.
Okay. And that was 2 days before your anniversary, you said?
Yes.
Okay. So, did you and your wife eventually talk to your parents?
We did. Like we thought, like, should we call them? And we figured, if they wanted to call us, they would call us, and then they did. And so we figured, well, they'll call us on our anniversary, and so we can just sit tight. And I'm sure it's pretty stressful. And this guy was arrested in Miami, and so they called us on our anniversary, which was the 28th.
Okay, so that was 2 days after the arrest, I think.
2 days after I found out. Yes.
2 days after you found out. Thank you. So on the 28th, did you talk to Donna Adelson?
Yes.
All right. And when she called you, was she telling you the good news that Danny's killers were arrested?
No, I just called us for anniversary, and wished us well, and had some small talk for a bit. I kind of let it go for a little bit. And I mean, this was not small news. And so I finally broached the topic and said, they found the guy, they arrested someone who killed Danny. There's no response. And then I said it, at least 2 or 3 times that, they made an arrest. They got the guy who killed Danny. And then her response was, I've got to go.
And then did she hang up the phone after that?
Yes.
And did you ever talk to her about it again ever after that?
No.
Just a second.
You're good. You can stop now.
Oh, you're good. You can stop now. Yes, right. Yeah, you're good. The reason why Rob was important was because at a break is because there's a feeling that Wendi tried to set up Rob in the interrogation room by her and her girlfriend.
You know, her reaching out for happy birthdays, happy anniversaries, that kind of thing. Was that the last conversation you had with her?
That was the last time I spoke to her.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
She heard your advice, Doug.
Yeah, a good point to sit down, if not even a little earlier. That was devastating testimony.
Devastating, really, devastating. And Charlie only cared about go-karts and jet skis, which indicated he had to be under his mother's
Good afternoon, sir.
Good
direction.
afternoon.
You got your work cut out for you.
This is truly, he's truly, and you don't even know, we know the backstory about this, but boy, I tell you, don't talk to the FBI.
What about being matter of fact about the death, about the murder?
Right, somebody in your family is gunned
You
down
get
in
that-
the garage.
Yeah, Rob gave that to them without even a question being there. A little lanyap, as we would say down here.
Right. And the Wendi thing is the only time she ever shared that, because the feeling is that basically she broke up. She was trying to route him the day, and he actually left the night before. She tried to get the police that he had to go to an event, and he would have gone to Truscott, and therefore he may have been the killer. That was with her girlfriend when they were at the police station. So, and it turns out that he hadn't left that. He had left actually the night before, unbeknownst to her. Wow.
I'll say it again. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
In between 2012 and 2014, how many times did you come to visit your family in South Florida?
2012 and 2014. My daughter was born in October of 2012. And so I think my dad's birthday, I don't know, there was a Thanksgiving, I think in 2013. So I mean, pretty much Thanksgivings were the times when we would travel, having a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. So
Sure. Okay, so Thanksgiving of 2013 and then your dad's birthday in 2014.
yeah, there could have been one other one, but I remember those two for certain that I could swear to.
Okay, and when you came for his birthday was on the 5th. You came in on the 4th, the party was on the 5th, and you left on the 6th, correct?
That's my memory of it.
And Thanksgiving, kind of the same thing? But you got a job you got to get back to, right?
Yeah, yep.
And how frequent were the phone calls that you were having with your family?
Probably less than once a week, maybe every other week, something like that.
I think that's a lot.
And when I say family, I think I'm referring to Donna.
Sure.
Okay. Now, you were here on the 5th for your dad's birthday. You said you went home on the 6th.
Yep.
And Danny Markel was brutally murdered on July the 18th of 2014. That was in the summer.
Correct.
Recall that?
Yes.
And when did you arrive in Florida to be with your family?
I didn't.
Thank you. You had mentioned in your direct testimony that your mom called and said you shouldn't talk to the police. You recall that?
Yeah, I do. Yes,
What actually happened was a family friend, Michael Weinstein, you know him, correct?
I do. Yeah.
Your mom
Doug.
He had called and advised that as a family friend and an attorney that you all should not talk to the police. That's what she told you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't have anything further.
Redirect examination.
I don't know what that gets you. If somebody else said to her to not talk to me, she's telling him, don't talk to the FBI.
You may step down.
I think it clarified a little bit that it wasn't mom just whole cloth making it up. It was family friend advises not to talk to the FBI. I mean, that's all she got.
The state have a witness that
That's all
will
she got,
go
right?
about a half hour exactly.
One very brief witness you can do and be done for the day.
Please call your witness.
They call Bill Brannon.
I love this judge's, not only his courtroom control and mannerisms, but his sonorous voice.
He really does. And he doesn't like to end before 5:30 at night. He's, I love it when he opens the door and says, well, the jury has to go to the bathroom. The line is there again. We're waiting for them. He's really funny. He's got this little, funny mannerisms and funny take on stuff. And he asks the defendant right in court, you have to go to the bathroom, Mrs. Adelson, we'll take a break. I kid you not, it's kind of refreshing because it's so like normal, right? It's so, So Mike Weinstein apparently was a lawyer, Doug. Any relation?
Zero.
So we do have a question.
Yeah.
Happy Easter. Why was it so important that Wendi dated married someone who's Jewish? The religion's passed through the mother, not the father.
Please speak
We
loudly.
can get there after this. That's a whole discussion.
Yeah, that we'll discuss it when we get a chance after
Will you
this.
introduce yourself to the jury and spell your name for our court reporter, please?
I'm Officer Brannon, number 510 with the Tallahassee Police Department, Brannon.
And where do you said you work at TPD. And how long have you been with TPD?
26 years, and I was with FSU PD for a couple of years prior to that.
Okay. Now, did you respond to a crime scene on Trescott Drive on July 18th of 2014?
Yes,
And what time did you arrive?
approximately 11:15.
When you arrived, was EMS and some other TPD officers already there?
Yes,
Okay. Was your role maintaining a crime scene perimeter that day on Trescott Drive?
that was one of the roles, yes.
Tell me about that. What does maintaining a crime scene perimeter mean?
Just keeping people out, redirecting traffic.
Okay. So are you putting up crime scene tape then?
Yes,
Okay. And making sure nobody comes in or out, no cars come through?
correct.
So where was the crime scene tape on Trescott Drive that you were located next to?
I was a little ways north of the incident location on Trescott.
Okay. I want to, and when you were next to the crime scene tape, were you seated in your marked vehicle?
Yes,
And at that time, looking south down towards the incident location, was there EMS and marked police cars there in front of the Markel residence at the time?
EMS had already left the scene by the time I was in that position, but there was investigators, other officers, and crime scene units.
Okay. And when I say marked, as in your car's marked and their cars are marked, like TPD insignia, what we would typically see as a police car.
Yes,
Okay. Did I show you before court today a map that is marked as States Exhibit 87?
yes,
And was that map a true and accurate depiction of where you were stationed that day and of Trescott Drive and of the Markel residence on that road?
I believe so.
Judge, at this time, I'd move into evidence States Exhibit 87.
No objection.
States 87 is admitted.
Motion to publish? I have this for you. Point up there if you want to listen to this.
Okay, so looking here at this map, I'll leave that off. Is this Thomasville Road right here
Yes,
where I'm pointing? Okay. And is this orange arrow ABC Liquors?
I believe so.
Okay. This is Benton Road.
Yep,
All right. And then is this road over here Centerville Road?
yes,
And the hospital would be somewhere in this area.
correct.
Okay. So this yellow line, is this yellow line Trescott Drive?
Yes, ma'am.
And does the blue arrow show where the Markel residence 2116 Trescott Drive was?
Yes,
Can you show me where you were located next to the crime scene tape, making sure no cars came by the crime scene?
Approximately where the little yellow marking was right there.
Okay, right where it says roadblock
Yep.
with the arrow? Okay. Now, from where you were stationed here at the crime scene tape, could you clearly see all of the marked police cars in front of the Truscott residence?
Yes.
Okay, and your marked police car was right there where we see the arrow as well?
Correct.
All right, if I'm turning onto Truscott Drive from Centerville Road, would I be able to see any of the activity over here or from this area on Truscott Drive?
No, not back over there.
And is that because the road curves around or winds around?
Yes.
While you were stationed there, did any vehicles approach your location on Truscott, encounter the roadblock, and have to turn around?
Yes, several vehicles.
Okay, did you notice a particular vehicle that pulled up that you notated in your report that day because it stood out to you?
Mid 2000s maroon or dark red Honda Odyssey van.
And are you familiar with that make and model and the year of van?
Yes, my family we actually still use it. My son uses it. 2006 Honda Odyssey.
Okay, so at the time, your family owned the same van.
Correct.
Okay, and you said it was maroon in color, the one you saw that day?
Yes.
At the time, did you know that the ex-wife of the person who was killed drove that type of van?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to show you what's already been admitted as State's Exhibit 18. Was this vehicle consistent with the one you saw that day that turned at the roadblock?
Yes.
Were you able to see the driver of the van?
No.
About what time did the vehicle approach the roadblock?
Approximately 1 o'clock, somewhere in that range.
Okay, I think, did you say between 12 and 1 in
Somewhere in
your report?
there.
Okay. But don't know exactly the minute that it approached. Okay. Was there anything unusual about the way the vehicle, or I guess the driver of the vehicle, behaved when the vehicle encountered the roadblock that stood out to you?
It wasn't fast or anything, but it was just a little more deliberate and pulling up, turning around, and leaving. The other vehicles, which is consistent with other times I've had to block roads, when vehicles pull up, they kind of stop and they're processing like, well, I can't go this way, and trying to think, well, where do I got to go now, etc. So this one didn't squeal tires or anything like that, but I mean, it was boom, 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 and out.
So just less hesitation.
Correct.
Did the driver of the vehicle ask you any questions?
No.
Did the driver of the vehicle question anybody else, any other officers there at the roadblock?
Not where I was.
They just
No.
turned around and went back towards Centerville?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all. Thank you.
No questions, Judge.
Officer, you may step down. Is the officer released or will he be recalled?
Sir,
Is the officer released or will he be recalled?
he is released. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thanks, sir.
Members of the jury, we are going to come to a rest for this evening. Once again, I'm going to remind you, do not discuss this case with each other or anyone else. Do not seek out any information or news reports about this case at all as well. Please report tomorrow at 8:45 a.m. and we intend to get started at 9 o'clock once everyone is here. Have a restful evening. We will see you in the morning.
See if they have any questions. So Doug, that last thing is because Wendi was going to buy at ABC Liquor, she said, Bullet bourbon for a party that night, was stocked the bar. That's one of the things they wanted. And she was going to take a shortcut through Truscott, which is where she used to live, which is where the assassination happened.
Okay.
And so she approaches she's apparently a bunch of cars approach the crime scene tape and they just turn around, but she approaches it, wants to know what happened. And one could say,
Tomorrow, the
let's hear the judge for a second.
witnesses that were supposed to be the PM are They now going to be our AM witnesses state for tomorrow morning.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, very
Oh,
well.
getting faster.
Parties need to be heard before we go into recess.
Nothing from the state judge. No judge.
There was one thing,
Go ahead.
can we approach about it though?
Yes.
Parties have to approach. So what happened was, you could argue, I guess, that that's where she used to live. She wanted to see what's going on, but then she never calls her husband. She doesn't call him and say, "Hey, husband, what's going on your street?"
Yeah.
But that's for Wendi, not for Donna.
Yeah, not for Donna. I'm still stuck on Rob's testimony. I
I'll
know
go
some
back to
folks in the chat do not think it was devastating, but
I do.
I think
think
it's devastating as far as exhibiting. I mean, the most credit I guess you could give Donna after that testimony is that she was likely aware of involvement in her family in the murder. I mean, whether she conspired with them based on that testimony alone, I guess you could argue no, there's not evidence of that within his testimony, but there's certainly evidence, right, that she seemed to be aware that that was a no-go subject. And then how did she know? How did she know what happened with the encounter, the alleged encounter between the assassins and Mark?
Right. I mean, and then this was the morning he died. I mean, this is right when he died. I mean, and she doesn't, and it's actually, she has it wrong, but
yeah,
she knows he's shot, and she's shot at home, and she may think that's what happened, that he was shot with the front door, because the killers had his address and his picture, right?
But the implication is that was at least either her expectation from the assassins, or, maybe, or they called her up and told her that, even if it was wrong. It seems to imply or infer some involvement, maybe unintended.
Right. And it also infers that Charlie wouldn't have done anything without Mom saying it's okay. Charlie was interested in go-karts and jet skis and girlfriends, right? And the picture that's been painted is Mom is really the controlling force of everything. Mom edits all the pleadings. Mom knows about all the pleadings. She makes all the comments, right? And all. And we haven't even gotten to, by the way, we haven't even gotten to the bump everybody. We're just talking about the evidence so far, what the state has proven.
Have they brought on her stroking the checks after the assassination?
You know what? We have some questions maybe from the former co-host of Justice Served TV.
I was told it was all about me now. What is this guy doing there?
I don't know. I'm introducing him as the former co-host, and even though he's been on the road since 3:30 in the morning.
Linda forgot that it was my tech wizardry got this thing started. So today's little problem. Get over it. It'll be fine.
You're a little low on your volume. I don't know if there's something we can do about that, Missy.
Let me see
because
what I can
Doug
do here.
Doug has some, having listened to some really interesting points. How about when Rob said, "What did your mother think about Markel after the divorce?" And she hated him.
That should be better. We got a bunch of stuff to talk
I wasn't
about.
talking to you. I was talking.
Sorry.
I was talking to Doug.
No, let's hear what Michael says.
The co-host. No, I know. I'm sorry to interrupt, and I didn't hear, of course, what you guys have been chatting about because I've been in and out of court. You may have noticed.
You were in court, really? You really made it into court?
Didn't you notice how I got snubbed by Wendi? Didn't you? Don't you read my ex posts from Justice Served TV?
No, we were busy.
Well, we'll have to wait and see where that goes.
Let's see what's happening here.
You're going to put something on the record now?
Appears that way.
We're done for the day.
Oh no, we're done for the day.
There we go. There we go.
We're done for the day. No, so you tweeted, Rex turned me down flat. No, not for a date. I just asked her to sign the book after she left the witness stand. Harumph is a loose translation. So Doug, Wendi wrote a book, This Is Our Life, which is kind of like a mirror of her life with Dan Markel.
Okay.
Required reading at FSU basically has the people in it who really it kind of indicates a motive and everything. I mean, it's all there, right? And so we bought a used copy and we've been reading it. And so Michael actually asked her to sign the book.
How'd that go?
So Michael, how'd it go?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, you can't hear you.
Oh,
Your
you're
sound is
muted.
off.
It's hell to get old, Michael.
It's been a very long day. I woke up 14 hours ago. Anyway, yeah, so she rushed out of the courtroom with her cadre, encircling her. And I'm like, Miss Adelson, would you sign a copy of your book? And I think what she said was actually no thanks. But it wasn't in that sweet, coquettish tone that we heard on the witness stand. It was a little more get out of my face. But I gave it a shot. Yeah. So, and very interesting. She's taller than I would have expected. And we had a conversation yesterday about her attire. Perfectly acceptable. I noticed that where the hemline was today, it was not too high. The shoes were not too strappy and spiky. So she got good consultation on that.
We have a conversation. We, Doug, you have to understand, Michael Bryant was into the conversation because she was taking a picture of her seated, and he started saying her skirt was too short, and so that led to the whole chat going crazy, and his co-host, right? It's like, oh my gosh! But I'm glad you asked.
Very sensitive group, Doug. Very, very sensitive.
Clearly, you don't speak about what women wear. It's just not.
But it's what happens when you get a certain age. You speak the truth, and whatever happens, happens. So, what you guys think of her testimony today?
I'm going to throw it to Doug because I've been talking all day.
I only saw the tail end of Wendy's because I've been sitting in court doing some pro bono work. Give me credit for that.
Nice.
In the afternoon. So I actually only saw the very tail end of her testimony today.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of intelligent things to say about it. Even if I'd seen it, I don't know if I would have.
I think the interesting thing was, Linda, we talked about it briefly on one of my last stops before I pulled the plug, is that, it wasn't like, oh, here's Wendi part 4. We've heard it all before, right? All of this new stuff, which is very specific to Donna Adelson, the defendant in this case, that we hadn't heard before. The connection or lack of connection, depending on which side you're arguing. So I thought that was fascinating. What about the cross-examination? I was kind of in and out for that. That's when I first got to the courthouse here. What'd you think about that, Linda?
Let Doug talk about this because he has.
We chatted a little bit about.
Okay, we did. So let me.
Some of the cross. I thought it was a little too long and not as focused as it could have been. I thought it should have been a little more. Of course, I only saw part of it direct, but I thought it should have been a little more targeted. But that's my style, right? I get in, I get out, I make the points I want to make to try to keep the jury's attention.
It was interesting, I thought, because she would have stops and starts, and the starts were good. She'd be rolling along, she's articulate, she's concise, and then she would kind of hit a roadblock to move to another subject, and that's when it got a little clunky. I do think she made points about the whole $1 million, and you and I talked about that earlier, Linda. I think that was good. I think the other issue about the connection between Wendi and Donna, which is key. If you're going to get a conviction against Donna, you better hook her on the coattails of Wendi or vice versa. So I think she made some points there. Is it enough? Well, it's too soon to tell. But I did think it was effective with what she did get to.
Can you two fill me in on something a minute that I haven't followed this as closely as all of you in the chat has? Is she not a target here in this investigation?
Yes, she actually was granted use immunity to testify in every one of these trials.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Wendi is a target. So it was kind of interesting, I thought, because I thought the things that exonerated, Wendi may not have exonerated Donna, right? Here. So I think Wendi was at a tightrope, and I initially when the cross began, I wasn't sure what they were trying to do. I thought the cross has some good points, and yet I didn't write anything down. Why? Because they kind of went away because she kind of lost focus, or she was too loud, or she was too slow, or she was like bringing the book up to Wendi Adelson. So as a result of that, Michael Bryant, I wrote nothing on the cross except that I did feel that some points had been made that were helpful, but I don't know what those points are.
Here's one that I think was critical. We've heard all along about this motion to relocate denied with prejudice, and we've had this conversation that's ridiculous. How do you do that when there's possibility of doing, revisiting it if there's a change in circumstances, right? I mean, that's just routine family law. Things change. You're not going to lock in a 3 and 4 year old to a decision today, Your Honor, when the next 10 years, who knows what could happen. So we learned in this testimony that it wasn't such a normal order with prejudice. It was stipulated to. It was stipulated to by the parties. And Wendi made it sound like in prior testimony, I don't know what with prejudice means. I don't. I mean, this is a practicing attorney. That's not exactly deep thinking. But that's why she was concerned last time she testified. I don't know what that means. Well, it was thrown in her face today about the with prejudice, but more importantly, the stipulation. Why is that important? She didn't tell Donna. Why didn't she tell Donna? Because she is afraid of her mom. And I think that helps Wendi a whole heck of a lot. When you start looking at her and you start piecing together the communications, it's as important, maybe more important, what Wendi would not tell her mom because she's afraid as to what they did share. I think that was a huge point that's going to help Wendi more than it may help Donna.
Except that you could say also that she didn't tell her because she also knew what the final plot was. It didn't matter whether she stipulated because they were going to get rid of Dan Markel. I mean, that's the other way you could look at it.
And that's why that's why she was so willing to stipulate, because it was irrelevant, because they were going to get Markel anyway.
Right.
So that would be a full year before. So then the argument has to be that this whole plan was being concocted well in advance, like at least a year, because that's when all of this happened.
But was she testifying on the stand that she didn't understand what stipulation and prejudice meant?
Prior testimony, not today. Not today.
Folks that are not folks that aren't attorneys, I have to tell you, that's super basic stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Now,
Doug, I'm going to throw this question to you. This has been asked a number of times. Shaza B asked, if Wendi had confessed her involvement on the stand, would use of immunity have protect her from getting charged?
Man, you're sending it to the newbie over here?
Yeah, I'm going to tell the newbie criminal defense attorney, yeah.
Well, I understand use immunity. They cannot use what you say on the stand against you in future trials. I don't know if you confess. Like, I don't think they can. I don't know the answer to that. I would have to look back.
That's a great question, Shazabi. We'll have to find it out for you, because if it's a grand jury, you can. I mean, if they give you use of immunity grand jury, you go and confess everything you've ever done. Yeah.
I mean,
well, that's the difference between transactional and use. Yeah. I mean, transactional, it's a clean slate. You can go in and, say you buried Jimmy Hoffa. But, this use stuff and its derivative nature gets a little muddy,
Right. And by derivative, that means you can't take what they say on the stand and use that as leads for further investigation.
So you've got to totally independent.
Yeah, you could have independently, or you did independently develop that.
Okay, so here's a question to you, Doug. I think Hippie asked, and you say you could write a whole book. Why was it so important that Wendi married someone who was Jewish? And that's the same thing went to the brother, Rob, right? Yeah. We know about that from prior discussions. The religion is passed through the mother, not the father. But I know a lot of people whose parents, and also them, if they're Jewish, they're going to marry somebody who's Jewish. I know Catholics are going to marry somebody who's Catholic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to address the question backwards, at least. As far as the religion passing on from the mother, that's the traditional view. If you're a Reform Jewish like I am, we don't believe that. We have a more expansive view of someone that's Jewish than that. I doubt they were Reform if they're talking about keeping kosher and everything else. But why is it important? It's not different, I think, than a lot of other religions or cultures where people want you to marry within their culture or within your faith. And then there's the stereotypical Jewish mother that, of course, wants their son to marry a Jewish woman. And, stereotypes exist for a reason. I'm sure there's some people like that, particularly in the more traditional and heavily Jewish communities like South Florida.
Yeah, it could easily happen. All right, so Michael Bryant, we thought Rob his testimony this time was more devastating than it seemed in the past. I mean, I thought, because we hear the mother said not to talk to the FBI, even though it came from a lawyer, but it sounded more devastating to us, and he was just so normal that she hated him. She hated him.
That's what people said. He seems kind of like normal.
That
was interesting. She said, "quote Don't talk to the FBI. You don't know anything anyway." Oh, well, you do. And every conversation he had with Mom about the incident was very matter of fact. Even the first notice she gave him on that call, Danny's been shot and he went to the hospital. He's not going to make it. Very matter of fact. That's how it was described. Rob, or Robert, has never testified before. This is the fourth trial. He's never testified. A year ago, September, almost a year ago, when they were on the verge of this trial starting, and then we know the attorney conflict issue rose and they put it off till now. They had a hearing, a sealed
That's what
hearing.
I'm thinking about, the hearing, right?
They had a sealed hearing
Yeah.
when the defense said, we don't want this guy on the stand. He's just going to say my mom is a killer. And so, not in so many words. So that's why they needed to have a proffer with his testimony. And there was never a decision because the case got delayed due to the conflict issue. So his appearance in court today is very important and very new. And some of the quotes, I had to write down some of these quotes because they're just painful. I'm telling you. Let's see what some of them are here that I thought were interesting. The guts, of course, of the prior motion and the current claim now by the defense is this guy can't give his opinion. He can't give bad character opinion. My mom would always do this. My mom would always do that. So the jury then says, oh, she must have signed off on killing Dan Markel. So that's the round argument. But he talked about depoting Wendi to death. This was a phrase that Donna used when talking about Dan Markel during the course of the divorce. And so, just gives you a sense of her animus. She also said, the reference to the he didn't make it. Very matter of fact, just, because he was asked, any tears, any emotion? No, just matter of fact, did not make it.
How about gleefully moving out? She helped win the glee. She was gleeful with the moving out. She was pleased.
Yeah, she was very happy, very pleased. Yes.
Very pleased. And she had held it and hid it from them and had that secret. Now, you texted me at some point that you were in court and your quote was, she asked Wendi whether she hated Dan at the time of the shooting. That's before Bob got on the stand. And what was that about? Yeah,
there was a big sidebar when that question was asked. And it was something that was going to be impeached because Ms. help me, defense counsel, cross-examination.
Jackie Fulper.
So she said, you hated Dan Markel at the time he was killed, right? The time he was shot. I don't remember saying that. Well, so she wanted to dig into it.
That's that sidebar that we didn't get the whole thing of. It was a mess.
And they wanted to, I think Fulford said something like, well, Judge, we need a recess. This might take some time. Because she wanted to search out the impeachable testimony from prior trials or prior depositions. So they had a long sidebar, and then it was just kind of left bare. So it's hard to tell what they decided, except that it wasn't going to be talked about today. And now Wendy's been dismissed but not excused, right? So she could be recalled, not by the defense. Remember, we had that whole issue prior to trial. Defense tried to quash the subpoena. The court agreed and says the defense can only go into things that the prosecution brings up in its direct examination. But the prosecutor did not dismiss her, excuse her from her subpoena. She could come back. So,
can I ask a question? So you were in there, right? So Rob's testimony to me just appeared devastating for the defense. Not necessarily in showing action, I guess, on the part of Donna, but you could tell he believes that his mom is involved. I mean, the way he was throwing out gratuitous remarks, not in response to any particular question, like as just matter of fact. Was she crying? No, she was very matter of fact. He just threw right in there. And it felt like starting at that point from the remainder of his testimony, he just was lobbing everything he could at Donna. How is the jury responding to that?
Yeah, they've been busy the time I've been here. A lot of note taking, a lot of most juries, as you know, Doug and Linda, they play things pretty close. Nobody's like, nobody's gasping, but you can tell if somebody's attentive or not. They were attentive, and I think what was interesting was there was the initial arguments, and now you know why, of course, why the defense doesn't want this guy up there. Obviously, he's gonna paint Donna Adelson as an evil person, and I think she is. Is she a killer? I don't know. But once they got past that first opinion question, and there were a few of them that were objected to, and you can't just give raw opinion. He was able to give comments. It sounded a hell of a lot like opinion to me, but the court allowed them as just statements that were made. You know, so
But he also gave a lot of, it felt to me like improper character testimony.
of course, yes. He
and
should not be allowed to just give his opinion about her.
I assumed that they had litigated that prior to trial, but I don't know.
Well,
That
that's what
was
they tried
like-
last September.
It came without objection.
Yeah, it's very interesting because this guy, I think, is powerful. Now, of course, the defense would come in and just paint the picture of this guy's just pissed off at his mom, right? And he'll
But
say
they
anything.
didn't go through that. They didn't go through that basis here. We learned about the basis about the wife, him being kind of like forced to abandon the love of his life, marry somebody who was Jewish. It didn't work out. He got divorced pretty quickly, and then went back to marry the love of his life. And so he was, shall we say, disengaged from the family for a while because of that. And now, obviously, they got back together in some way. Doug, you made a good word, not estranged, but distanced from it. But we heard all that last year. The jury didn't hear that background, Michael, right?
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And so I left as Cross was continuing. You guys heard it better than I. Is it still underway, or did they call it for the day?
No, they've called it. They had a police officer on the stand to give the map, but you didn't hear the last witness. Did you? You were asking Wendi you were trying to get your chest autographed. I didn't know.
Oh.
No,
Yeah.
I went back in, but then I left to come out and set this thing up.
So, Linda,
it was still
not
ongoing.
The jury has not heard that backstory of how
No.
Donna manipulated her son. Well, how are they going to get that? Are they going to get that in on their case in chief?
I don't know. I don't know. I guess the defense. I would say to me, the defense would want that in, right?
Some people are like, "What?"
Yes.
I think the defense would want that in, and then, he's a difficult witness to deal with. But I just always remember Brian Steele teaching me, you have to take these bad facts and these difficult witnesses, and you have to grab them and address it head on. You can't just ignore it. And here you have a situation where you have a basis for maybe undermining the witness's credibility, because I think he came off very credible, and you don't address that at all. And I don't understand that.
I don't either. And quite frankly, when I'm thinking about it now, as I'm sitting here, I think addressing it would be helpful. Because Dan Markel was Jewish. He wanted to raise the kids Jewish. That's what the mother wanted. Why would she be pissed off at Dan Markel? Why would she want to kill him? Because it's exactly the opposite of what would happen with this guy. So I would think the defense would want to have gone there and grabbed that.
That would have been a great line of questioning.
Yeah. So
And they could still use, even if the court were to foreclose some of this quote opinion testimony, it could be used to impeach if they get some information from witnesses, even the defendant, should she testify, that no, she was great. She was, yeah, I know. Doug's like, not a chance in hell. Hey, we're talking about as the Adelsons turn on one another, Doug, so you just never know. But they might have counter testimony that suggests that she is not what Rob says she is. And then some of that stuff could come in to impeach that testimony.
I don't know. Supposedly, Doug, just so you have the defense has said, I don't know, they've ever, you could change your mind that Donna Adelson is going to testify. We did a poll earlier, and interestingly, 53% wanted to, 47% say no. But it's the closest we've ever had. And I've been explaining that it's not a good idea to have your defendant testify.
Please don't testify. She hasn't given a statement to law enforcement, correct?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question, whether she gave us a statement. Wendi did, in the sense that she was at the police station for hours afterwards.
I have to look, but I assume that somebody, FBI, TPD, somebody, I mean, they're tracking down Rob in New York, or at the time, I think he might have been in Albany. Yeah. They're tracking him down to knocking on the door. You don't think mommy's going to get a call? Yeah, I'm going to have to look at what's out there on that.
Well, let's see if Mom followed Mr. Weinstein's advice, not this Mr. Weinstein.
the other Weinstein, I bet, and then give us a statement. Yeah, I don't think we've heard about anything about a statement, quite frankly, Michael and Doug. I don't think so. But they said that Wendi did. Wendi talked. We know Wendi talked because she was in the police station, and we had the tape. And her friend came and visited her, and all that kind of stuff. And that's when her friend. What do you like to call her friend, Michael? Wendy's friend.
Well, I know her name's Jane.
Jane.
Miss Helpful.
What about the guy that you just broke up with 4 days ago? Okay. What about him that you just broke up with him? Right. and all. They were
You
trying
really
to set
should
him
tell
up.
them about him. Yes, tell them
Yeah.
about poor Jeff.
Yeah.
Tell them about him.
Yeah, I don't
She's
know. What's the whole Jeff story? What's going on with Jeff?
Well, he was gone, so he has an airtight alibi, unless they could link him to a conspiracy, and that doesn't make sense. But
So
it
Jeff,
looks like
Jeff
he was being
supposed
set
to,
up
right. Jeff it looked like he was being set up because he was supposed to go see a friend and go to the airport the next day, right?
that morning at the
That
time of
morning.
the shooting.
At the time of the shooting, and he'd go right through Truscott or whatever
Okay.
at the same time. And then he decided to go the night before, but Wendi didn't know that because 4 days before she sent him an email saying we're broken up because she doesn't like conflict, so she didn't want to tell him in person. So it looked like he was being set up because then they said, well, he should be the suspect because he would be the doomed lover of Wendi, and he probably killed Dan Markel. So that was the story that was being set up, not knowing they had an airtight alibi because he had left the area the night before.
Yeah.
Yeah, he took a different flight the night before, and nobody seemed to know that until they started knocking on doors, and he's like, "Look, I was way far away. Move on," and they did. And he's a great witness, and he'll testify in this case again.
Yeah, thank you, Kay Schmidt. By the way, I really appreciate those memberships, as you know. So yeah, he's going to testify again, and he's really a terrific witness. He ended up driving instead of, I think, going to the airport, right? And going the night before. So that was the thing. So what about this whole idea that she's controlling? She's so controlling. She did all the papers for the divorce. Doug, let me get your take on this. That Donna did all the papers for the divorce. And that Donna's controlling, and then Rob gets on and talks about how controlling Donna is, and that Charlie would never make decisions on his own. Charlie only cared about jet skis, women, and go-karts, and all. And this whole idea of controlling, I have been calling her Ma Donna, like, Ma Barker, Don John Gotti, the Don, you got to get permission from the Don. So I've been calling her Ma Donna. Does that get you to a conspiracy if she just is the person in the family who has to know everything?
Well, not that alone, but I'm assuming you're going to have other evidence come in about, for example, the checks that were sent to one of the assassins. So I think the other stuff is going to come in that's going to link her in a little more. I guess you start with the fact you lay the groundwork for how controlling she is, and then you start to show the evidence of where it's not just that she's controlling, but she took certain actions, had certain communications that would seem to implicate her in this conspiracy. Conspiracy is a tough one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And every
very
time we have
good.
one of these trials, it's, one person further removed from the mix. And, as I've said before, from what I've heard so far, she's mean, she's evil, she's controlling, she's arrogant, she's entitled. I know a lot of mothers-in-law that would fit that description. Not mine. But doesn't make them an orchestration tool for murder. So I need to see more.
Which again feels like bad character evidence, but I know that there are exceptions that allow that in. So I'm sure that's what happened here.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened here. I think the judge did leave some out. We finally had some objections today, though. Finally, there were some objections, whether you like them or not. I mean, Doug was saying, don't you see more objections? And we talked about that, right? We would object a lot more on some of this stuff.
Yep. And, obviously sometimes it's strategic that you don't, but I just see some missed opportunities here. Is that their plan? Or is it just they don't get it? I don't know. I'm giving them a little more time to convince me what it is, but it's not good. There's some really important things they could have been objecting to, and they didn't.
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you what's going on in the courtroom, just the layout, because it's very deceiving from the cameras. It looks very almost shallow, front to back, because they've got a lot of cameras in there. But if you're looking at the one that shows the defendant and the space behind her, it looks like maybe 4 or 5 rows. And I mean, it looks like, in my experience in courtrooms, it looks like smaller than most. It's big, and it is deep, like a tunnel. And I counted about 80 to 85 people in there. And it was, they probably could have shoehorned a few more folks in, as I shoehorned myself in, but far more people than you would think from the view you get on TV. I was very surprised at that.
Because it doesn't look that way. Where were you seated? When you finally got in? Did Isaac bring you in, or what?
No. They are so low key here in Florida about these cases, and because I could take anything in there, your laptop, your phone, clack away while you're there. Just
seriously,
make some noise, you're in trouble. There's There's actually an overflow room I didn't need to go look at, but there's also a media room, which I went in, and it had to be 10 degrees warmer in there, so I didn't spend a whole lot of time in there. I went to the back of the class. I always like to be in the back. I could kind of see what's going on. You can see everything. I wanted to really get a feel for the gallery because I hadn't been in there before. Now that I have been, I'll cheat a little bit more forward so I can get a better view of the well, and I can start looking at the jurors much more distinctly.
So who's running the media feed from the courtroom? Is it Court TV? Because I saw there were multiple camera angles.
Yeah, it is Court TV, and they've got a couple of robo cams. They do a great job setting those. They got all the toys, and the sound is acceptable this time. We were a little afraid in some of the pretrial hearings. It was brutal.
Well, we got a booster. Everyone's telling us we had the best feed and the best sound because we.
So it's coming out low,
booster. Huh? It's coming out much higher with our feed. As a matter of fact, our sound was so good. We were getting the shoes walking, the judge typing on his bench, and everyone. It's interesting with the judge typing because then he's typing at certain times and you hear his keys going. That's
funny.
Yeah,
I've said before how I think Ms. Kappelman has a heavy footfall because in every trial I've watched, clunk, clunk, clunk. I mean, when she's may I approach, it's just a heavy footfall, and she's a lovely woman. I'm just saying, it's a very obvious. My wife has the same way. She comes down the stairs. I'm like, what do we have? We have two 12-year-olds coming down the stairs. What is going on? So yeah, they don't have to be too sensitive to pick up her footsteps.
I have a couch you can sleep on later, Michael. So.
Well, luckily I have a hotel for the next few nights. So
okay,
yeah.
Thank God.
I have to step away, guys. I want to.
Thank you, Doug.
For allowing me to play the Joan Rivers role here.
You were great. You were great. Also, you were great because you co-hosted and were a guest. And Michael, I told you Michael has to work his way up, but I knew you'd know these are really interesting issues that really is fascinating, right?
Well, Linda, you and I can talk offline sometime when Michael's not around.
Okay, do that.
Okay,
Thank
guys.
you. You're the best.
Thanks.
You're the best. So we do have a question for you, Michael Bryant, Madeira Beach caregiver. Who's abroad in the big blue sunglasses? Someone said there's a woman in there. You can see her right in the camera. She got big blue sunglasses. Do you know? We're frozen. We froze Michael Bryant. Now you're silent, Michael Bryant. Now you're silent. Silent. Can't hear you. No, can't hear you. Now what's going on? We lost Doug, and Michael Bryant went silent. Okay.
Oh.
There we go. There you go. There you go.
Wait, I think I know what it is. So talk amongst yourselves.
Marcel's are it. You're it. Marcel's are it.
I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So he'll be right back. He thinks I think he probably knows what it is. The Starlink, as you know, has a certain amount of time that'll let you plug in, and then you have to re-plug it in again. You unplug it, re-plug it into a source, and when it starts going, it starts going. But that's an interesting question. People are asking who she is because I don't know. We're getting where Harvey is seated, right? We're getting where Harvey is seated. He's there all day. Starlink has done us pretty well though because the court Wi-Fi from here, which you'd have to hook into, is just terrible. So so who is that? Do you know who that is?
Yeah, I don't have a name. I can picture the person you're talking about, but I was only in there for an hour or so today. I'll have to do a little more reconnoitering to figure that out.
And I would note it to everybody who was in our discussion Friday about dress code that Michael Bryant is in a tie, a shirt, and a jacket, okay?
Yeah.
Remember he said he wasn't going to wear a tie?
It is so hot. Okay, this is, because we share everything with everybody, right? We do. That's just what we do.
Right.
So I don't know if you can see or not, but there's a stain right there under this tie. I'm driving, and I'm trying to eat, and of course, I dropped something right there. I mean, it's right there. So I said, well, there's no choice. I'm going to be wearing the tie. So.
Well, you look pretty good. Of course, everybody wants to know.
Well, I looked so horrible earlier, I had to try and step up.
Everyone wanted to know, did you see Jimmy? I mean, Jimmy's been the subject of our discussion in our chat, okay?
Yeah, I looked for him, and obviously I've never seen him in person, but I think I could pick him out. Yeah. Well, everybody was sitting. And I know I was looking for that little curl of hair on his forehead. It's so cute. But I couldn't, I couldn't guarantee I saw him. Maybe he was spending some time in the overflow, because you can be a little more demonstrative in there, a little more animated. You got to be kind of low key in the courtroom itself. But I'll run into him tomorrow, I'm sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So the last witness, let's go back to, let's go back, because we talked at your last stop, and then you got in to the redirect. I thought the redirect of Wendi was really good. That it was succinct and all, it's exactly in terms of the style that was not by the defense. And as I said, I couldn't even, and I know the defense made some points, including the one that you sent us. We missed the question because there was so much rigmarole about, well, I can't find this, I can't find that. And so you're the one who texted me that she asked Wendi whether she hated Dan at the time of the shooting.
She was building to that moment.
And we never got an answer, right?
No, they had the long sidebar, and then they just kind of moved on. I got the feeling that the court said, look, we don't have all this time to have you sift through. You could do a word search. I mean, how tough would it be to have the transcript of whatever the hearing is?
But how can you not be prepared if that's going to be one of your final questions?
And don't you think she's going to deny that? Of course. So you got to be ready. And they were both very good. I mean, this prosecution team is very good. Yes. They obviously work well together, and they've got most of their beats figured out. Some of the original direct I just started to enjoy, because you could tell, and it has two effects. You can tell that Ms. Kappelman is setting up Wendi Adelson, right? Well, you said that he was a horrible person. Well, I'm not sure I said that. Tab 32.
Right.
Go right.
And then they also had the screen. They also had the screen which showed the bad emails, which I posted, and then I printed out, where the defense didn't have any of that. They just didn't have any of that. I mean, somebody was suggesting, well, that's because these aren't high profile. These are actually high profile attorneys. Jackie Fulfer was a judge. This is a high profile. This is a paid for team. This is not somebody off the street.
And I like Fulford. I like her style, but she has those clunky things when she misses a beat because she doesn't have whatever handy that she needs to have handy. But here are the two things that kind of back and forth does, where you constantly say, well, okay, tab 32, and then she has to look, oh yeah, I guess I did say that. Number one, you get a flinchy kind of thing going on with the witness, because every time one of those questions comes, they're like, they twitch, and you probably can lead them down the path on things that are a little worse than they might have actually said. But now they're flinching because you're going to throw a tab number at them and a document that says exactly what they don't remember saying. It's a very effective way to get the truth out of a witness and to put them on the defense, because they don't know what's coming that you might have in your little set of tabs.
Right. And they're so prepared, that they're prepared. They were so prepared that even when the prosecutor, and her name is, I keep writing her name down for some reason I always...
Ms. Dugan?
Sarah Catherine Dugan.
Yes.
Even when she got objected to at one point, and the judge said overruled, and she asked the follow-up question, well, how do you know? And she didn't need to, because it was overruled about what the statement was. It was from Rob. And that's the statement about she hated him, she hated him. And so there was an objection. It was overruled. And she said, well, how do you know she hated him? And she didn't need to do that, but she was so prepared in her outline that she knew that there was going to be an objection, and she had that as the next question.
Yeah.
And then asked it, and she didn't need to.
Yeah. And again, I've seen the defense caught flat-footed on a number of those little moments. But in general, I think Wendi helped herself and hurt her mom less than I had expected. Helped herself more, hurt her mom less than I would have expected.
That's interesting, because I think she still hurt her mom a lot because of of those emails, which we had talked about in 1D1. I think she helped herself because it came out that that she was telling friends that she was just appeasing her mom.
Yes.
And I think that hurts her mom more, because it makes her mom more controlling.
No doubt.
She was okay by staying in Tallahassee because her job allowed her a lot of freedom,
And it wasn't just fresh new testimony. They had the receipts, as the kids say, of these different texts and letters and other documents that said she was sending these to a friend and basically saying, I'm telling you what I can't tell my mom.
Right. Right.
That to me is devastating for Donna.
Yeah. No, I thought that quite frankly, I thought that at one point maybe Donna, but after Rob got on the stand, no. And then when Wendi with the police officer with the crime scene tape, she was the only one who wanted to know what happened. And I said, well, that may be good because that's where she lived. But then I thought about it. I said, no, that's not good because why doesn't she pick up the phone and call her husband? Do you know there's something happening on your street? And she doesn't.
Even if it's just something simple like, oh, are you going to be late for something because you're jammed up with whatever is happening on the street? But no, you don't call and ask because you know what the hell's going on. That's the obvious argument. And I'm going over there, depending on what time. Yeah, we'll be done here before long.
I'm
going to go and I'm going to do two things. I'm going to drive from what was Wendy's house, the home of the infamous bad TV. I'm going to drive from there to ABC Liquor.
Okay.
What looks like the most direct route, and also through Trescott, which on paper looks like a crazy way to go. I just want to see some numbers. How long does it take? If it's within 30 seconds or a minute, then I'd give her a pass. But if it's, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes longer, it's very unscientific. I appreciate that. But still, it'll give us some foundation to assess that story, that she went that way, because to her it was a, quote, shortcut. You know what? And we talked about her book. Remember one of the passages I read from her character Lily in the book was that she has horrible sense of direction. She's always had horrible sense of direction. And Josh, her husband in the book, offered to get her GPS and she politely declined. I mean, that's Wendy's testimony. That's why she wanted to take Trescott, because it was the way she knew, and she has bad sense of direction. It doesn't get much closer to the character than that.
You're going to stop into ABC Liquors to
I'm gonna, I passed 4 of them on the way into town.
Really?
Those places are everywhere, but I know the one that we're talking about. I know exactly where it is, and I'm going to plot from Wendy's home to ABC Liquors, and I'll do the drive both ways just to see if it's really that far out of the way or if it's close enough. If she knew that way better, I'll give her that one.
Yeah. Hi, Scott. By the way, Wendi is what appears to be an unindicted co-conspirator on this. That's why she had to get immunity. But they've been going up the ladder. And do you know when now tomorrow? It's moving faster because tomorrow afternoon's witnesses they're expecting in the morning. Do you know when the bump or the tickle the wire testimony is going to be?
Well, I'm not sure about that one. I would think that's going to be toward the end. Isn't that the coup de grace? Isn't that the big, most important thing? So I would think that's going to be held off a bit. I go out in the hallway and there's a cop sitting there. Of course, I'm so stupid. I just go up to any cop, start asking like they have information about the courthouse. And he goes, no, I can't help you. He's a TPD guy, Tallahassee Police. So I go in the courtroom. I'm back, forth. I come back. I said, are you watching somebody here? Are you? And he said, no, I'm waiting to testify. And that's
the cop that came on after Rob.
Yeah, his name was Branson or Branford or.
Hold on, sorry.
Yeah,
and he's the one who set the map. He set the map and had the crime scene tape up. Brennan.
Yeah, he was one of the first guys. Yeah, and that whole crime scene thing is a whole different kettle of fish, as they say, because Wendi has testified differently each time about where that tape was. And if you turn right from the street, Centerville, I think it's called, onto Trescott, it's a kind of a windy street, not unlike Fairview, actually, in Norfolk County, in Canton. You wouldn't be able to see the house or anything else if the crime scene tape was that close to the corner that she had to do what she called a K-turn and go the other direction, right?
Right, another K-turn.
Another K-turn. But the cops are saying it was like 3 houses away from Dan Markel's house. And that is 20 houses or more from that intersection where she says she saw the crime scene tape. Not even close.
That's a whole different thing. And they said the cops said that every other car that saw the crime scene tape in advance turned around. They didn't come. She's the only one that came up to say, oh, what's going on here?
So I'm going to take that drive as well. Tonight, maybe not until tomorrow. But yeah, I just want to give folks the spatial orientation of turning from that one street onto Trescott and realizing how far down. And that's a busy street. It's got the humps in it, double yellow line humps. So it gets traffic. And I'm sure a lot of people do use it as a cut through, but usually when it actually saves them time, doesn't add time.
So
we'll see.
what's the lineup for tomorrow? Any idea?
No, I have no clue at this point. Nope. Got here too late to really suss that out.
Okay. So tomorrow morning, you're on your own till about noon, just so you know.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out what I'm going to do. I may come on, I got to see what.
You got to go into court, right?
Yeah, I got to see what the traffic looks like inside,
Right. You have
Maybe
to
today it was packed because it was the Wendi Adelson day, right?
Right. And I'll
Maybe
try
tomorrow.
to jump on. I just have a meeting that I can prepare for that starts here at 11. We'll be finished probably by 12. But so I'll try to jump on here and there and listen to the testimony in the morning.
What time did he call the jurors back for tomorrow?
Gosh,
8:45?
He called the lawyers back for 8:30 again, 8:45?
So a little early. Okay,
Yeah,
well, we should just.
They did motions. We were on. They went right to motions like within 5 minutes of us being on this morning at 8:30.
Yeah.
I got them exactly at 8:30. Matter of fact, the music was playing when I got on and all. And they started with the arguing motions right then. Joey Kane, again, is gifting membership for you because he can't bring you a donut.
Where's Joe? Is Joey here? No, I don't see him.
He's looking for you, Joey.
So tomorrow, let's just figure to come on at 8:30, and I'll. If it looks like I need to be queued up to get in, that's the priority.
Yeah, I think you should be queued up to go in. If I
we can just roll.
Here, we're gonna roll it. We're gonna roll it in. This is gonna roll the court. Instead of having a fan, we have a beautiful seal. But I just have a feeling they're going to have this team. The defense team does have motions. I do say that they do have motions.
Yep.
It's just that you can't really hear them too much sometimes
Because they're off mic a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit off mic.
Hey, I found this may help me tomorrow. I don't know if you can see behind me here. This is the back entrance, and you can go in. There's an elevator from the third level down, sub 3 parking. Go right up to the third floor of the courthouse.
Okay, what courtroom is it in? What courtroom is this in then?
It's in G3 or 3G. Okay. 3G. This way is the entrance. I'm kind of at the side of the building here, waiting for them to kick me out because I'm at some parking for a memorial that's right here in this area. And I'm sure somebody will decide that I'm, consecrating the memorial with this high tech. But I imagine everybody is queued up and wrapped around the statues and the fountains out front, right?
That's what happened this morning, right?
I think I might be able to just do the back door here and cut that right out of the mix. I don't think anybody knows about this. I stumbled on it because I parked back here. So that may be helpful.
Yeah. So that's great that you did. And no, you have to go in. The jury's called in for 9, but he's having the lawyers. I think he has the lawyers come in 8:30 just in case there's any. Smart thing, right? Something that they didn't do in the Reed trial, right?
Of course.
This is what we did in the Hernandez trial. And every other trial been in. The lawyers come in early before the jury, and then anything that has to be taken care of gets taken care of. And if you don't, you just, you go down to the coffee house and you relax. But the jury, when you start, you start.
Well, these damn attorneys always have something. I mean, that's what attorneys do. And even if you don't have anything, by some miracle, wouldn't you love like an extra 15 minutes just to kind of get all your proverbial ducks in order? Of course.
I love that.
So there's no reason not to have the attorneys come in early. There's just no reason.
Yeah, and then this judge, as I said, he's very human. Yes, Mrs. Adelson, do you have to go to the bathroom? Because if you do, we can go now, okay? And he said to bring the jury out, and they go to get the jury, and the jury's using the bathroom. He said, those damn rest of the jurors have to go to the bathroom. They're queued up for the bathroom, Basil. And he's just he's very human the way he runs his courtroom, but he runs a tight courtroom.
He does. And he's, all judges have a different persona in front of and for the jury than they do for the litigants, right? But he's, he thinks of their time. We're wasting their time. Let's cut to the chase. Let's get what we need to get this thing going. And that's what the judge should be doing.
Right, exactly. So, Michael Bryant, I know you've been on the road since 3:30 this morning, and we were kind of laughing when you cut our feed and we had to start again.
Who?
All right.
Who? What? What happened?
We were like 1,000 people, and we're like, you have them at 45. But when you cut our feed, everyone had to find us again. We had to reset up the new feed. But we have a plan next time.
Yeah, I'm not touching anything. That's the plan.
No. But that's the first plan. The next time, what Missy's going to do is she's going to set up the StreamYard and the YouTube. Send us the YouTube. I won't get off in case it gets cut. The original stream. We'll post that to everybody in the original stream, and then that'll stay active for 3 to 5 minutes after you go off, so they can join us on the YouTube, as opposed to having to find us, because apparently our stream went into Emily D. Baker's show. Apparently,
nice, good for her.
Yeah, good for her. Yeah,
it's weird because when I did the first one, it was fine. I'm using my phone. I'm holding the phone, and the buttons are impossible to see, obviously. And I just got lucky maybe the first time. Not so lucky the second time. But I also thought
when that happened, Doug was in our chat. Doug came in our chat. And so I said,
he said, "What the hell's Bryant doing out there?"
I said, "Hi, Doug." I said, "Send Doug a link. See if he'll come on because I'm replacing Michael Bryant. You know, we're auditioning. You know."
Yeah, I've been in this business a long time. That's how it happens. You know, you just show up one day and you don't have a job. I get it. I understand. Yeah, all right. I thought you were just getting too many people and you needed to keep it a little more intimate. So, refresh and get back to some smaller numbers.
I hate to tell you this, but you're the co-owner of this company, the Bryant and Martin Media Company. You co-own it. I just want to let you know that. So, you have to fire yourself if that's going to happen.
Have to bring that to the committee.
Yeah, committee.
Well, I appreciate you sitting there all day. I know the drill. And you'll get to be popping in and out as you can tomorrow, right? So there should be a lot more,
okay, but not in the morning. The morning I was supposed to be on vacation this week, if you recall.
I don't even understand that concept. Vacation. I'm not sure what that means. Missy did a great job today, by the way. I heard her when I was getting my rental car. I heard her popping on, keeping everybody on track with what was happening.
I am on vacation. I'm in jeans today. I'm in jeans. I'm on vacation. Yeah.
So the leggings, the Justice Serve TV leggings are cut above the jeans. Is that right?
Well, you wear
those when you're on
I just read an article from the New York Post that says Gen Z says you can't wear leggings anymore. Leggings are passé. I mean, when you're doing yoga, you better wear, you can wear loose pants, but leggings are pretty good when your feet are up in the air and your legs are,
I would think.
But no, Missy, and I reminded everybody that Missy came to us because she was one of our original guests. So we know she can handle this, right?
That's right. Yeah. Sometimes you nudge her a little bit, but yeah, she did a great job. And who knows, there will be times that we're, out and about.
Yeah, that's right. So thank you very much.
I appreciate you being there, and I'm not touching anything. I'm throwing that out there, Missy. I am not touching anything. So
before everyone goes, we're gonna have to ask you to subscribe, like, share, notify before even Missy touches anything. Please hit that subscribe, like, share, notify button. So and then Missy's gonna take us off, and then we'll be back. We'll be back with the seal, I guess, at 8:30, and we'll see what happens tomorrow because we don't know who's gonna be on.
Nope, not yet. Okay, so here's the out cue. Get ready, Missy. Ready? Okay, till then, we are Justice Serve TV. Try to do the right thing.
Bye.